Hello friends, welcome to Shadow Whisperer. All you see is darkness, just the sound of rain. Designed to help you relax, focus on the story, and drift into sleep. But before you do, remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And yes, feel free to share where you're listening from in the comments. Now, let's begin. I never imagined a silence so heavy until Bruno was no longer here. It was the kind of quiet that just sinks deep into your bones. It left a sour taste in my mouth, like old pennies and something rotten. For 12 long years, he was always right there with me. Bruno, my golden retriever. He was like my whole heart, wrapped up in fur and happy breaths and a wagging tail. I raised him from a tiny puppy. We grew old together, just the two of us. We were like two lonely people who only had each other to count on. He was there when my parents passed, a warm head against my leg. He was there when I lost my job, a soft sigh beside me on the couch. He was my shadow, my comfort, my constant. And now, I couldn't hear the soft click of his nails on the wooden floor. I missed the gentle sighs he used to make when he slept by the warm fireplace. The house felt too big, too empty. Every sound was gone. It happened the night before last. I still remember every second. Bruno had been sick for months, but I just kept telling myself it wasn't true. I told myself he was just getting old, like everyone does. He had slowed down so much. His once bright eyes had grown cloudy, like old glass. He didn't chase the squirrels anymore, just watched them with a tired sigh. Every day, a little piece of him seemed to fade. He stopped eating his favorite treats. He struggled to get up from his bed. His breathing became shallow, like he was always out of breath. I tried everything, every medicine, every special food. But the vet, she looked me right in the eyes. Her eyes were cold, like she had given up. She said, "It's time." Her voice was soft, but it hit me like a punch to the gut. I felt like I couldn't breathe. I just sat there, shaking my head. "No," I whispered. "Not yet. He's not ready." But her face told me everything. It was a kindness, she said, to let him go. I never went back to that animal clinic. I just couldn't. The thought of it, of leaving him there, it was too much. I couldn't say goodbye in that cold, bright room. I carried Bruno home in my arms, like he was a little baby. He felt so light, like a bundle of feathers. His breathing was so shallow, barely there. I could feel his heart flutter, then slow, then beat again, so weakly. Each beat was a tiny drum, fading away. I held him close, his familiar smell filling my nose. I just kept walking, one foot in front of the other, trying to make the moment last forever. I laid him on his favorite blanket by the window. The afternoon sun was warm on his fur, a last golden light. I just sat there, stroking his head, whispering silly things to him, telling him how much I loved him. I told him about the squirrels he used to chase, and the way he always knew when I was sad. I told him he was the best boy, the bravest boy. My voice was thick with tears. Later that night, I found him. He was cold, his eyes half open. He was curled up in his favorite spot by the window, where the sun always used to hit just right. The last bit of warmth had left him. His body was stiff, like a statue. I tried to move him, but he wouldn't budge. It was like he was frozen in that last moment, waiting for me. I just stared at him, unable to believe it. My chest felt tight, like a heavy stone was sitting on it. I couldn't cry anymore. The tears just wouldn't come. It was like my body was empty, hollowed out. The wind had really picked up outside. It howled like a sad, lost thing, rattling the window panes. The tree branches scratched against the glass, making a spooky sound. It sounded like fingers tapping, trying to get in. I just sat there next to his still body. My hand rested on his cold fur. It felt so wrong, so lifeless, so utterly final. I whispered to him, "Come back. Please. Just come back." My voice was a broken whisper, barely a sound. I didn't move for a long, long time. The house grew dark around me. The moon came up, then started to go down, casting long, eerie shadows. I just sat there, hoping he would breathe again, just one more time. I kept thinking, maybe I didn't see it right. Maybe he's just sleeping really, really deeply. But deep down, I knew. The coldness, the stillness, it was too real. I haven't buried him. Not yet. I just can't do it. He's still here, wrapped up in his old soft blanket. It's the one he always dragged around, the one that smelled like him, of warm fur and sunshine. He's resting in the shed out back, where it's cold. The cold will keep him safe, I think. It will keep him just as he is, waiting. I told myself it was the right thing to do. I couldn't stand the thought of putting him in the ground, of dirt covering him up. It felt too final, too much like saying goodbye forever. I just couldn't say that word, couldn't make it real. The shed was old, made of rough wood with a rusty lock. I carried him out there myself, stumbling in the dark. I laid him gently on a small pile of old rags, then covered him with the tarp. I check on him every few hours, sometimes in the middle of the night, sometimes before the sun comes up. I'm always sure that this time I'll find him breathing again. My neighbors, they think I already buried him. They brought over flowers and big dishes of food the next day, casseroles and cakes, all smelling sweet and sad. They came to my door, their faces long and serious. They looked at me with those sad, pitying eyes. They kept saying how sorry they were. They told me he was a good dog, the best dog, a real part of the family. I just nodded, trying to look strong. I didn't want them to know my secret. I tried to smile nicely, and I lied. He passed peacefully, I told them. Thank you so much. The words felt like ash in my mouth. I wanted to scream the truth, to show them he was still here, just waiting. But Bruno's body is still there, under that rough tarp. He's just waiting. Waiting for what? I didn't know. But I felt it deep down. He was still connected to me, somehow. My appetite was gone. Food tasted like cardboard, dry and tasteless. Sleep wouldn't come, no matter how tired I was. Every shadow in the house looked like him. Every creak sounded like him. I walked around like a ghost myself, pale and tired. The house felt like a tomb, silent and cold. I kept expecting to hear his happy bark, his nails clicking on the floor, but there was nothing. And now, things have started happening. Really strange things. Things that make the hairs on my arms stand up. Things that make my blood run cold, like ice water. The first night, I thought I was just dreaming. It was around 3:15 in the morning. The house was so dark, so quiet, the kind of quiet that makes your ears ring. I woke up to a sound. It was the sound of nails tapping against the wooden floor. Quick, scratchy taps, like someone was walking, but not quite. It was the sound Bruno used to make when he padded across the living room, heading for his water bowl. It was so clear, so real. My eyes snapped open. I lay there, perfectly still, listening. My heart started to beat faster, a nervous flutter. No, I told myself. It's just the house settling. It's just my mind playing tricks. I shot straight up in bed. My heart was beating so fast, like a drum. It thumped against my ribs, loud in the silence. "Bruno?" I whispered, my eyes wide open in the dark. I strained to hear over my own pounding heart. The hallway was really dark, but I heard it again. Tap, tap, tap. Closer this time. It sounded like it was right outside my bedroom door. I held my breath, listening hard, my whole body tense. Then a soft little whine. It was a sound I knew so well. The little happy whine he made when he wanted to play or when he saw me after I'd been gone for a while. It was so familiar, so heartbreaking. And then everything went quiet again, a silence even deeper than before, a heavy blanket of quiet. I jumped out of bed. My bare feet hit the cold floor, sending a shiver up my spine. I grabbed my flashlight from the nightstand. My hand was shaking so much I almost dropped it. The beam danced wildly on the wall. I was trembling all over, shaking so much. My teeth chattered. I told myself it was just the cold. But I knew it wasn't. It was fear, cold and sharp, digging its claws into my gut. It was the fear of something impossible, something that shouldn't be. I crept to the bedroom door, slowly turning the knob. The wood creaked, a loud noise in the stillness. I shone the light down the hallway. Nothing, just shadows, long and spooky, playing tricks on my eyes. I walked slowly, my flashlight beam sweeping the floor. I checked the living room, the kitchen. Nothing was out of place. The water bowl was empty, just as I'd left it. The tennis ball was still in its box. I ran to the shed, stumbling a little in the dark. My heart felt like it was going to burst. I shone the light around wildly, my breath coming in ragged gasps. When I pulled the tarp back, he was still there, still. But something was different. His eyes, they looked different. They weren't half open anymore. They were shut. All the way shut. They looked peaceful, like he was just sleeping. A wave of relief washed over me, cold and quick. See? I told myself. Just your imagination. I tried to believe that. I really did. I tried to tell myself it was just my mind playing a cruel joke. Grief. It does strange things to your mind. It makes you imagine things that aren't real. It plays tricks on you, whispers lies. I pulled the tarp back over him, trying to make everything normal again. But a cold knot of fear started to grow in my stomach right next to the relief. It was a tiny, hard seed of doubt, the kind that grows in the dark. I went back inside, but I couldn't sleep. I just lay there, staring at the ceiling, listening to the house. Every little creak, every groan of the old wood made me jump. My mind raced, going over every sound. But the very next day, it got even worse. It really started to scare me. The morning sun felt cold, not warm through the windows. The air in the house felt heavy, like something was pressing down, making it hard to breathe. I walked into the kitchen, my mind still fuzzy from lack of sleep. And then I saw it. The water bowl in the kitchen was full, filled to the brim. I hadn't filled it. I know I hadn't. It was his old blue bowl, the one with the chipped rim. It sat there, shining under the kitchen light, full of clean, clear water. I just stared at it for a long time. My mouth felt dry, like sandpaper. Who could have filled it? It made no sense. No one else was in the house. No one. My hands started to shake again. I walked around the house, checking every window, every door, all locked, just like I left them. Then I saw it, the tennis ball, the old one with the torn seam, Bruno's very favorite, the one he chewed until it was almost flat. It was sitting right there on the couch in his favorite spot. I hadn't touched that ball in days, weeks, maybe. It had been tucked away in a box, hidden from my sight, a painful reminder. Now it was out, right where he used to drop it for me to throw. I picked it up. It felt warm, almost, like it had just been played with. I squeezed it gently, and a faint, familiar smell of dog slobber rose from it. My eyes welled up, but no tears came. I put the ball back in the box, pushed it deep inside the closet. I went to the kitchen and dumped the water from the bowl. I scrubbed it clean, then put it away in the cupboard. It's just me, I told myself, my voice shaky. I must be doing these things without knowing. I'm just so tired. But a cold shiver ran down my spine. Worst of all, the blanket in the shed had moved. I went out there, my stomach churning. It wasn't wrapped tightly around him anymore. It looked like someone or something had just thrown it aside. It was all messy, crumpled up, and the tarp was pushed back like it had been moved in a hurry. My breath hitched in my throat. This wasn't grief playing tricks. This was real. I stood there, staring at the empty space where his head should have been. The blanket was damp, too. Not from the cold, but from something else. A strange, earthy dampness, like freshly turned soil. And the air in the shed felt different, heavier, colder, like something had just left, or was still there, hiding in the shadows. I pulled the tarp back over him, my hands trembling. I started leaving out treats. Little dog biscuits, the crunchy kind he loved. I put them in his old bowl, right next to the full water bowl. Maybe some part of him was still here. A ghost, a spirit. I wanted it to be true so badly. I needed it to be true. I needed him back, any part of him. I just needed to feel him close again, even if it was just a shadow, a memory. I even left his favorite squeaky toy out, the little rubber chicken that made that awful happy noise. I put it right in the middle of the living room floor, waiting for the squeak. I started talking to the empty air. "Bruno?" I'd whisper. "Are you here? Are you really here?" My voice sounded thin and lost in the quiet house. That night, I didn't sleep at all. I just sat in the living room, staring at the empty spots where he used to lie. The house was too quiet, too still. The air felt thick, heavy with unspoken things. I listened to every creak, every groan. My eyes darted around, trying to catch a glimpse of something, anything. The silence was a living thing, pressing down on me. Then I heard barking. And this time, it wasn't just in my head. It was real. It was loud, sharp, and sounded so desperate. It was a cry, a plea, a sound of pure pain, like he was trapped, hurting. It sounded like it was coming from the backyard, from near the shed. I rushed outside without even putting on my shoes. The cold grass felt like needles under my feet, but I didn't care. "Bruno! Bruno!" I was calling for him, my voice hoarse, tearing through the night. The backyard was so cold and silent. The moon was hidden behind thick clouds. Nothing was there, just the dark, empty space. My breath came out in ragged puffs of white, clouding in the cold air. The barking had stopped as soon as I opened the door. I ran to the shed, fumbling with the latch. It was still locked. I threw open the door, shining my flashlight inside. Bruno was still there, under the tarp, still and cold, just as I'd left him. But the barking had been so real. It had echoed in my ears, a raw, painful sound. I spun around, looking into the darkness. Was someone playing a cruel joke? Was I finally losing my mind, truly? I stood there, shivering, the flashlight beam shaking in my hand. The cold bit at my skin. I felt foolish, standing in the dark, calling for a dog that was gone. But in the morning I saw them, paw prints. They circled the shed. They were fresh, in the frost-covered ground. Each one stood out clearly, dark against the white, like they had just been made. But they weren't quite right. They weren't dog prints. Not really. They were bigger, much bigger than Bruno's paws, and they were misshapen, like something was wrong with the paws, like they were twisted or broken. Some of the toes were too long, others too short. My blood ran cold. This wasn't Bruno. This was something else. Something big and heavy. Something that left a deep mark. I knelt down, tracing one of the prints with my finger. The edges were sharp, not soft like a dog's. And there was a faint, strange smell coming from them, like wet earth and something else, something metallic, like old blood. The prints led away from the shed, across the yard, and then just stopped, like whatever made them had simply vanished into thin air. I looked up, scanning the trees, the empty sky. I went inside the house. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely turn the doorknob. I closed every single curtain, plunging the house into a dim, spooky light. I locked all the doors, every single one. The deadbolts clicked loudly, like a final warning, sealing me inside. I felt like something was watching me, like eyes were on me, even through the walls, through the curtains. I didn't sleep at all that night. I just sat there, listening for anything, for any sound, for any sign that I wasn't alone. I sat in my armchair, wrapped in a blanket, with the flashlight on my lap. Every shadow seemed to shift, to grow longer, to take on strange shapes. The house groaned and creaked around me, like it was settling, or maybe breathing, a slow, heavy breath. I started to feel a deep, cold dread. This wasn't just grief. This was something else, something dark, something that had found its way into my house, into my life. On the 5th day, the scratching started again, but not at the door this time. It was from beneath the floorboards, right under my feet, in the living room. It was a slow, deliberate sound, like something was trying to dig its way out, or in. I pressed my ear to the wood, holding my breath. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic bird trapped in a cage, desperate to escape. I could hear it, breathing, heavy, ragged breathing. It sounded wet and deep, like something struggling for air, like something was drowning. And then, a growl. It was low and guttural. It came from deep inside a very big chest. It vibrated through the whole house. The very bones of the house seemed to warn me, to shake with fear. The floorboards trembled slightly under my hand. It was a sound of pure hunger, a deep, rumbling need. But I didn't run away. I couldn't. My feet felt glued to the floor. Part of me was terrified, wanting to scream and run, but another part, a desperate, hopeful part, wanted to believe. "Bruno," I whispered down into the floor, my voice shaking. "Bruno, is that you?" My voice cracked, barely audible, lost in the rumbling. I waited, my ear pressed against the cold wood, for an answer, and then I heard it. The tail thump, once, then twice, a slow, heavy thump. It was the sound he made when he was happy, when he was comfortable, when he knew I was there. That familiar, comforting sound. My eyes filled with tears, hot and stinging. It was him. It had to be him. My Bruno. He had come back. My heart swelled with a terrible, desperate hope. I just started to weep. Big, hot tears streamed down my face. They blurred my vision. I knew I was losing my mind. I knew that for sure. This couldn't be real, but I wanted it to be. But grief, it makes monsters out of memories. It twists what you love into something terrifying. And love, it makes us feed them. It makes us desperate enough to believe anything, to hope for anything. I stayed there, on my knees, for what felt like hours. The thumping stopped. The breathing stopped. Only the silence remained. A mocking, heavy silence, daring me to believe. I tried to tell myself it was just my imagination, a cruel trick of my broken heart. But the smell was still there, faint but growing. That earthy, metallic smell, rising from beneath the floorboards. I knew what I had to do. I had to see. I had to know. I couldn't live like this anymore, caught between hope and terror, between what I wanted to be true and what was truly happening. The thought was a cold, hard stone in my gut. It was a decision made out of desperation, out of a need to end the torment. I had to face it, whatever it was. I spent the next day gathering my courage. I didn't eat, didn't sleep. I just sat and stared at the floorboards, listening. The house was quiet again. Too quiet. That night, I went out to the shed one final time. The moon was full, casting long, spooky shadows across the yard. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it would burst through my chest. Each step was heavy, dragging, like my feet were made of lead. The air was thick with a strange tension, a cold dread that clung to me. I just had to see him. I had to know. I had to face whatever this was, once and for all. I pulled back the tarp, my hands trembling so much I almost dropped the flashlight. The beam danced wildly, making the shadows jump. My eyes scanned the spot where Bruno had been, but Bruno wasn't there. The space was empty. The cold air rushed in, chilling me to the bone, a sudden, sharp emptiness. The tarp was shredded, ripped into pieces, like a wild animal had attacked it. The blanket was soaked in mud, all dirty and wet. It was dragged away from the spot where he had been, a trail of destruction, a path of horror, and clumps of golden fur led from the shed. They weren't just a few hairs. They were thick, matted clumps, like someone had torn them out by the handful. They trailed back toward the house, a dark, ugly path against the pale grass, right to the basement door, the old, heavy wooden door that had always been shut, the one I never used, never even thought about. It stood there, slightly ajar, a sliver of darkness showing. I never heard the basement door open, not once. It just stayed shut, always. It was a heavy, old wooden door, locked from the outside. I've lived in this house for 22 years. I never once used the basement. It was just a dark, dusty place, a place for forgotten things, for cobwebs and silence. But when I opened it, I heard the same soft whine I used to hear when Bruno was a tiny puppy. The sound he made when he missed me. The sound that melted my heart, that made me feel loved. It was coming from the darkness below, echoing up the stairs. A sound of longing, of sadness, but also something else, something I couldn't name. My hands were shaking so much, the flashlight beam flickered wildly. It danced across the dusty steps, making them seem to sway, to move on their own. The stairs groaned loudly beneath my feet as I slowly went down. Each step was like a loud crack in the quiet, announcing my presence, my foolish bravery. The air grew colder, heavier, pressing down on me, making it hard to breathe. A damp, earthy smell filled my nose, growing stronger with every step. The smell hit me first. It was strong and awful. Wet fur, mixed with decay, and something else. Something like blood, hot and metallic, thick in the air, making my eyes water. It made my stomach turn. I almost threw up right there, bile rising in my throat. It was the smell of something dead, but also something alive. Something that shouldn't be. Something unnatural. Something truly wrong. And then I saw him. The beam of my flashlight found him. He was at the bottom of the stairs, hunched in the corner, a dark, shapeless mass. But it wasn't him, not really. My breath caught in my throat. My eyes burned. He had Bruno's eyes, those sweet, trusting eyes that I loved so much. The same warm brown color, but now they glowed faintly in the dark with a strange, eerie light. They looked at me with a deep sadness, a deep hunger. But the body was all wrong. It was mangled. It was elongated, stretched out in a weird way, like rubber that had been pulled too far, too thin. His bones seemed to have shifted, grown too long for his skin. His snout was twisted into something horrible, like a human scream frozen in place, showing too many teeth. His teeth were too long, too sharp, like needles, glistening wetly. His limbs were crooked and bent at strange angles, like they had been broken and put back together wrong, haphazardly, with no care. His skin was peeling off in patches, showing raw, red flesh underneath, glistening wetly. Dark, wet fur clung to his twisted frame, matted with something dark and sticky. He looked at me, his head tilted, just like Bruno used to do when he was curious, when he wanted a treat. He wagged that broken, twitching tail. It moved slowly, painfully, thumping against the dirt floor, a hollow sound. And then he took one step forward, just one step, a heavy, dragging sound, like something too heavy for its own feet, something struggling. My legs gave out beneath me. I collapsed on the cold, dirty basement floor. The dust kicked up around me, filling my nose, making me cough. I just started sobbing, crying so hard. My chest ached, a deep, raw pain, like my heart was breaking all over again. Bruno, I didn't mean to let you go. I want you back. I just kept repeating it, over and over. He whined again. It was a low, mournful sound, filled with a terrible sadness, a sound of pure agony. And then he spoke, not in words that I could hear with my ears, but in something much, much worse, in thought. Inside my head, I heard it clearly. It was his voice, but twisted, like a broken record, full of static and pain. It was deep and raspy, full of gravel, and a terrible, gnawing hunger. You brought me back, and now I'm so hungry. The basement door slammed shut above me, a loud final bang that echoed through the dark, shaking the very foundations of the house. It sounded like the end of the world, a coffin lid slamming shut. And then darkness swallowed us both. The silence that followed was different. It wasn't the silence of grief anymore. It was the silence of something waiting, something that had found its home, its new hunting ground, and its new meal. Days blurred into a long, dark nightmare. I don't know how long I was down there. Time stopped making sense. The hunger in the basement grew, a constant gnawing presence, a cold, empty ache. I could hear it moving, always moving, scratching, dragging, a wet, heavy sound, like something too big for its skin. Sometimes I heard a low growl, a rumble that shook the dirt floor beneath me, making my teeth chatter. It would come close, so close I could feel its hot, foul breath on my face. The smell of decay was overwhelming then, making me gag, making my eyes water. I would just curl up, trying to disappear, to become invisible. I tried to talk to it, to reason with it. "Bruno, please," I'd whisper, my voice raw, broken. "Don't do this. Don't hurt me." But it never answered with words, only that hungry thought, echoing in my mind. Hungry, it would echo in my mind. So hungry. You brought me back. You made me this way. The accusation was clear, cutting deeper than any claw, a terrible truth I couldn't escape. I remembered the treats I left out, the water bowl, the tennis ball. My desperate hope had turned into a monster. My love had twisted into something truly evil, something I could never take back. One time I heard a small animal squeal, then silence, and the wet, tearing sounds. My stomach lurched, and I squeezed my eyes shut. It was feeding. On what? I didn't want to know, but I could guess. I tried to find a way out. I clawed at the walls, at the door. My nails broke, my fingers bled, but I didn't stop. But the door was sealed. like it had never been meant to open again, like it was part of the wall. The air grew colder, heavier. My body ached. I grew weaker with each passing moment. The hunger in the basement wasn't just his anymore. It was mine too. A slow, creeping emptiness. I started to feel strange. My skin felt tight. My bones felt like they were stretching, twisting. I saw shadows move in my own vision, shadows that weren't there. My thoughts started to get fuzzy. Bruno's voice, that twisted voice in my head, became clearer. His hunger became my hunger. His pain became my pain. I felt a strange pull, a connection to him, stronger than ever before. It wasn't the love I knew, but something darker, something ancient. It was a bond forged in grief and terror. The house is quiet again. The police reports say I went missing. They found the shed torn apart, like something big had ripped it open, leaving splinters everywhere, a scene of pure destruction. My neighbors, they talk about the strange smells coming from my house, a smell like old meat mixed with something sweet and sickly that lingered in the air for days. They talk about the flickering lights they saw at night, lights moving in the dark windows, like someone was walking around with a candle or something much bigger, much stronger, and the low growling sounds that made their own dogs whimper and hide in their houses, too scared to bark. They think a bear got me, or maybe I just snapped and ran off into the woods, driven mad by sadness, lost forever. They don't know the truth. They can't imagine it, not in their wildest nightmares. No one talks about the paw prints, the big misshapen ones in the frost, the ones that led right to my basement door, then stopped, as if swallowed by the earth. No one dares to go into the basement. It's just a dark, scary place now. A place that smells of decay and something else, something unholy, something that never truly dies. A place where the air feels heavy and cold, even in summer. A place where the silence is not empty, but full of a terrible presence. The town of Saint-Vermy tries to forget my house, to pretend it doesn't exist, to push it out of their minds. But if you listen closely on cold nights in Saint-Vermy, when the wind howls just right, you'll hear it. You'll hear scratching beneath the floorboards, a constant rhythmic scrape like claws on wood, always moving, always searching, always hungry, and the low, mournful howl of something that should never have come back, something that misses its master, something that is always hungry, and it waits. It waits for someone else to come looking, someone else to open the door. It waits for its next meal, its next victim. I am here. I am still here. Not as I was, not as I should be. But I am here, part of the hunger, part of the waiting. He found me. He always finds me. He found me in the darkness, when my hope was gone. He found me when I was weak, and he made me part of him, part of his terrible new life. Now, when the wind howls, I hear my own thoughts echo in the basement. I hear his hunger, and I feel it too. It's a terrible, endless hunger, a constant burning need. And sometimes, when the house is truly quiet, I hear a soft, familiar whine. And I remember a golden tale, a happy bark, a love that was pure before all this, before it became this, before I became this, before Bruno came home and brought something else with him, something that is always hungry, and it waits. I was 12 years old, almost 13. My birthday was coming up soon. I really wanted a new bike. It was a shiny red one. I had seen it in the store window. I thought about it all the time. My family decided we should go camping. It was a big surprise. My dad thought it would be fun. He said we needed a break. From the city noise. From everything. It was in a place called Pinewood Forest. Mom said it was beautiful there. She showed me pictures. The pictures looked nice. Green trees and clear water, like a postcard. It was supposed to be a fun weekend. Just me, my mom, my dad, and my little sister, Lily. She was only 5. Lily was super excited. She loved anything new. She kept asking about marshmallows. She sang little songs about them, all the way to the car. Her voice was so happy. We packed up our old station wagon. It was a big blue car. It had a dent on the side. Dad said it was from a shopping cart. A long time ago. He always laughed when he said it. We put in our tent and sleeping bags. They were rolled up tight. Dad tied them down with ropes. He made sure they were safe, so they wouldn't fall out. He was always careful. There was a big cooler too. It was bright red. It was full of hot dogs and marshmallows, all the good stuff for camping. We also had soda and juice boxes. Lily picked out the juice. She chose the apple kind, her favorite. She hugged the box tight. The drive felt really long. It took forever to get there. I just stared out the window. The city slowly disappeared behind us. The tall buildings got smaller. Then they were gone. The houses got spaced out. The roads got smaller. The world turned green. Then there were just endless trees. They were so tall and dark. They seemed to go on forever. They stood close together, like a big green wall. The sun barely peeked through them. The light got dim inside the car, like we were driving into a tunnel. A really long one. Something about those trees felt heavy, like they were watching us drive by. It was a strange feeling, a quiet kind of feeling. Like the air got thicker. It made my skin prickle a little. I tried to shake it off. I told myself it was nothing. I was just excited for camping. I told myself it was just a forest. All forests look like that, especially big ones. I tried to think of fun things, roasting hot dogs, telling jokes. I couldn't wait to roast marshmallows and tell spooky ghost stories by the fire. That was always the best part. I pictured the fire warm and bright, my family laughing. Everything would be perfect. I imagined Lily's face, all sticky with chocolate, her big smile. When we finally got to the campsite, the air changed. It smelled different, like rich, dark dirt and sharp pine needles. It was a strong smell. It filled my nose. It was a wild smell, like nothing in the city. It felt very old. The clearing was pretty small. It felt cozy at first, just enough room for our tent. It was surrounded by the tall trees. They stood like guards, all around us. There was a circle of stones for a fire pit. It was right in the middle. The stones were old. They were covered in green moss, like they had been there forever, waiting for us. A small path led away from the clearing. It went deep into the dark woods. It looked a little scary. It was narrow and winding. The trees leaned over it, like they were trying to hide it. The path disappeared quickly, into the shadows. It looked like a dark mouth. Dad started setting up our tent. He pulled out the poles. They clicked together loudly. He spread out the big canvas. It flapped in the slight breeze, like a giant flag. Mom began unpacking all the food. She put it on a picnic table. She hummed a little song. She laid out the plates and the forks, getting everything ready. Lily ran around right away. She was chasing a bright yellow butterfly. It fluttered in the sunlight. Her giggles echoed through the trees. They sounded so happy. They made the forest feel less scary. Her laughter was like little bells, ringing through the quiet air. So sweet. I helped Dad with the tent. I hammered in the metal stakes. They held the tent down tight. The ground was hard. The hammer made loud thuds. My arms started to get tired. Each hit made a dull sound. The stakes went deeper, holding it firm, but I kept looking at the tall trees. They seemed to lean in close. Their branches looked like long, bony fingers. They swayed slowly, even when there was no wind. It was weird to watch. They seemed to reach for us, like they wanted to touch the tent, or us. I told myself it was just my imagination. Forests can be creepy sometimes, especially when it starts to get dark. The shadows were getting longer. They stretched across the ground, making the trees look even taller. The light was fading fast. The green turned to gray. The forest felt different now. That night, we all sat around the fire. The flames danced and crackled. They sent bright sparks up into the sky. The fire felt warm on my face. It made the darkness around us feel smaller, safer. It was the only light, the only warmth, in a big, cold world. Mom told a funny story first. It was about a silly bear. He loved to dance in the forest. She made funny voices for the bear and for the little squirrels. Lily loved it. Lily laughed so hard, she giggled until she spilled her hot chocolate. It went all over her shirt. Mom just smiled. She wiped it off with a napkin. Lily didn't even care. Then it was my turn to tell a story. I started a really spooky one. It was about a shadow. The shadow followed campers. It hid right behind them. You could never see it, but it was always there. I made my voice low and spooky. I leaned in close to the fire, trying to make it extra scary. I whispered the parts about the shadow, how it breathed on your neck, how it watched. Halfway through my story, a twig snapped. It was loud. It came from deep in the dark woods. It sounded close, too close, like someone was walking right there. We all froze. The fire crackled softly. Nobody said a word for a moment. The air felt still. Even the crickets stopped chirping. My heart started to beat fast. It was so quiet. You could hear your own blood pounding in your ears. Dad chuckled then. He tried to sound brave. Probably just a deer, he said. He tried to make a joke, but his smile didn't reach his eyes. His voice was too loud. He picked up a stick and poked the fire, trying to act normal, but his eyes quickly darted to the darkness. He looked worried. I could tell he wasn't so sure. He kept glancing over his shoulder, like he expected to see something, just behind us. His face was tight. His jaw was set. He was trying to hide his fear. I didn't finish my story after that. The air suddenly felt much colder. The fire didn't seem as bright. The warmth was gone. A shiver went down my back. I pulled my jacket tighter. The shadows seemed to grow. They crept closer to the fire, like they wanted to swallow us. Lily fell asleep in Mom's lap. Her head rested on Mom's shoulder. She looked so peaceful. Mom stroked her hair. Her hand was gentle, but her eyes were still on the darkness. We all went to bed soon after. It was still pretty early, but nobody wanted to stay outside. The tent felt small, but safe, like a little bubble. Inside the tent, I lay in my sleeping bag. I listened to the wind outside. It blew through the trees. It sounded like whispers, soft and far away, like someone was talking, but I couldn't hear the words. It wasn't just the wind. It sounded like voices, many voices, all at once. They rose and fell, like a strange song, a sad, scary song. I pulled my sleeping bag over my head. I tried to block out the sound. I just wanted it to stop. I squeezed my eyes shut tight. I counted to 100. Anything to make it go away. I tried to think of the red bike, of my birthday, of anything happy. I told myself it was just the wind. That's all it was. Just the wind blowing through the pines. But deep down, I wasn't really sure. It felt different. It felt like something else. It felt like the trees were talking, or something hiding in them. And they were talking about us. They knew we were there. They knew we were listening. They were laughing. I lay awake for a long time, listening, waiting, for the whispers to stop. They didn't. They just kept going, until I finally fell asleep. The next morning, the sun was bright. It shone through the trees. The creepy feeling was gone. The light made everything feel better, like the night was just a bad dream, a silly fear. The birds were singing again. The air felt fresh, like a new start. We ate pancakes for breakfast. Dad cooked them on a small stove. They tasted really good. They were fluffy and warm. Mom put syrup on them. Lily got chocolate chips. Lily was giggling again. She had syrup on her chin. She looked so happy. Then Dad took us fishing. We walked to a nearby stream. The water was clear and cool. The path was narrow. We had to walk in a line. Dad led the way. He whistled a happy tune. Mom hummed along. It felt like a normal day. Lily splashed around in the shallow water. She was having so much fun. Her laughter filled the air. She tried to catch tiny fish with her bare hands. She kept slipping and giggling. Her pink dress got wet. Her hair was messy, but she didn't care at all. I actually caught a fish. It was small, but I felt like a hero. I was so proud of it. It wiggled in my hands. Its scales were shiny. Dad helped me put it back in the water. It was a little trout, so fast and quick. I watched it swim away. For a little while, everything was perfect. The forest seemed normal again, just trees and birds singing. The sun felt warm on my skin. The air smelled fresh, like everything was okay. I almost forgot about the whispers, about the cold feeling, about the fear. But when we got back to our campsite, something was off. I felt it right away. The air was still, no birds sang. It was too quiet. The happy feeling was gone, replaced by a chill, like a cold breath. Our big cooler was open. All the food was scattered on the ground. It was a big mess. The hot dogs were unwrapped. The marshmallows were everywhere. Even the juice boxes were spilled. It looked like a party, but a very messy one, and nobody was happy. Dad said it was probably a raccoon. He said they were always getting into things. He tried to sound calm. He picked up a juice box, but his hands were shaking a little. He tried to make a joke. Looks like Rocky Raccoon had a feast, but his voice was strained. But I saw footprints in the dirt. They were right next to the cooler. They didn't look like animal tracks. They were too big for a raccoon, and they were too long. They looked like human feet. They were bare feet, no shoes, and they were very, very long. They looked human, but they were too big, and they had weird, long toes. I stared at them. The toes were too spread out, like fingers. They pressed deep into the soft dirt, like something with long, thin feet, something that wasn't human, but walked like one. I showed Dad the footprints. He looked at them for a second. Then he brushed them off. He kicked dirt over the prints. He made them disappear. He did it really fast. He didn't want me to see them. He didn't want to see them himself. He was scared. "Just some hiker," he said quickly. His voice was tight when he said it, like he didn't believe it himself. He wouldn't look at me. He just kept cleaning up the mess. His back was to me. He was trying to pretend that everything was fine, that it was just a normal forest. Mom looked worried too. Her face was pale, but she didn't say anything at all. She just picked up the spilled food. Her movements were slow, like she was in a daze. Her eyes were wide. She kept glancing at the trees, like she expected something to jump out. We cleaned up the mess quickly. We tried to act normal, like nothing strange had happened. But the feeling stayed, like a cold hand on my back. It wouldn't go away. It clung to me, like a spider web. I couldn't shake it off. Lily wanted to play hide and seek. So we did. I was the seeker first. She jumped up and down. "You count!" she yelled. Her eyes were bright. She thought it was just a game, a fun game, nothing scary. I counted to 50, my hands over my eyes. Lily and Mom went to hide. I listened to their footsteps. They crunched on the pine needles. Then they stopped. The forest was quiet. Too quiet. No birds were singing. No wind blew through the trees. It was a deep, heavy silence, the kind that makes your ears ring. It felt wrong. The air felt thick, like it was holding its breath, waiting for something. I could only hear my own breathing. It sounded loud in the silence. My heart beat fast. It thumped against my ribs, like a drum. I felt it in my ears. Each beat was like a clock, ticking away the seconds, making me nervous. When I opened my eyes, I saw something move. It was in the trees, just a quick blur of gray. It was so fast, I barely saw it. My eyes tried to follow it, but it was gone. It was taller than a person, and thinner. It moved like smoke. It slipped between the trees, like it wasn't even real, just a shadow. I called out for Lily. I shouted. My voice sounded small, but she didn't answer me. My heart started pounding hard. I felt a cold knot in my stomach. Something was wrong. This wasn't hide and seek anymore. This was different. This was bad. The silence pressed in. No giggles from Lily, no sound from Mom. I ran toward the trees. I yelled her name again. My voice was shaky. I pushed through the low branches. My eyes darted everywhere, looking for her pink dress. I called her name again and again, louder each time. My throat started to hurt. Mom popped out from behind a big bush. She was laughing. "You found me," she said. She had leaves in her hair. She looked silly, but I wasn't laughing. But her face changed when she saw mine. She saw how scared I looked. "Where's Lily?" she asked. Her smile faded. Her eyes got wide. She knew something was wrong too. The laughter died in her throat. Her face went pale, just like Dad's. We searched the clearing together. We called her name over and over. Our voices echoed. They sounded desperate, but there was no answer. The forest just swallowed our calls. It gave nothing back, just silence. Dad joined us then. His face was pale too. He looked around wildly. He had a worried frown. He kept running his hand through his hair. He looked lost. He started yelling her name. His voice was loud, but it sounded broken. We spread out in the woods. We checked every bush. We looked behind every tree. We called her name until our throats hurt, but nothing. The sun was starting to dip. The light was fading. Panic was growing. My stomach twisted into a knot. A terrible feeling grew inside me. Lily was gone. It was a cold, heavy dread, like a stone in my chest. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Tears pricked my eyes, but I wouldn't let them fall. I had to be strong. We searched for what felt like hours. The sun started to set slowly. The forest got darker and darker. The light turned orange, then purple, then it was just dim gray. The shadows grew. They stretched long and thin, like fingers, reaching for us. Shadows stretched across the ground. They were long and thin, like giant fingers reaching out. They seemed to grab at my feet, trying to trip me, making it harder to walk. The trees seemed to close in. Their branches looked like arms, trying to hold us. I kept hearing those whispers again. They were louder now, like voices just out of my reach. They swirled around me, soft and chilling. I still couldn't make out the words. They sounded like a secret, being told all around us, a terrible secret. I didn't tell my parents about them. They were already freaking out. They kept yelling Lily's name. Mom was crying softly. Dad looked like he was about to cry too. I didn't want to make it worse. Their shoulders shook. Their voices were raw. They looked so small. Their voices were getting hoarse. They sounded so tired and scared. I didn't want to make it worse. I just kept moving, pushing through the bushes, calling Lily's name. Night fell completely. We didn't stop looking for her. We couldn't. The darkness was thick now. It felt like a heavy blanket. It pressed down on us. It was so dark. You couldn't see your hand, right in front of your face. Dad had a big flashlight. Its beam cut through the darkness. It jumped around wildly. The light was weak. It barely showed the path. It made the shadows dance. Mom held my hand so tight. It hurt my fingers, but I didn't pull away. I needed her to hold me. I needed to feel her hand. It made me feel a little less alone. Her grip was like a lifeline, keeping me grounded, keeping me from floating away in fear. The whispers were everywhere now. They circled us. They seemed to come from all sides. They were closer, right next to my ear, but still no words I could understand. They were like a buzzing, a low, constant sound, getting louder and louder. I swear I saw something in the shadows, a tall, thin figure. Its eyes glowed. They looked like bright fireflies, but they were bigger, and they were staring at me. They were a strange, pale yellow light, like embers. They didn't blink. They were fixed on me, like they knew me, like they had been waiting. It was gone when I blinked, just a trick of the light, but my skin crawled. A cold shiver went all over my body. My hair stood up on my arms. I felt watched. Every hair on my body stood up, like tiny needles. It was a terrible feeling. I wanted to scream out loud, but I didn't. I had to be brave. I had to be brave for Mom. She was crying so hard. She kept saying Lily's name. Her shoulders shook. She stumbled sometimes. Dad had to steady her. She was falling apart, and I couldn't let her. I had to be strong. We walked and walked. Then we found a clearing. We hadn't seen it before. It was hidden behind thick, dark pines, like the forest didn't want us to find it. The trees were so close. They made a wall. You couldn't see it from the main path. It was like a secret room, deep in the woods, a place that shouldn't be found. In the middle of the clearing there was a circle of stones. They were old. They were covered in green moss. Inside the circle the ground was black, like it had been burned a long time ago. The dirt was scorched. Nothing grew there. It was dead, black and dead. In the middle of all the green, Lily's other scarf piece was there. It was right in the center of the black ground. It was torn just like the first one. It looked tiny against the black, her bright pink scarf, on the dark, dead ground. It was a terrible sign. Mom screamed, a terrible sound. It ripped through the quiet forest. It was a sound of pure pain and fear. It made my ears hurt. She ran toward it, her eyes wide. She wanted to grab it. She moved so fast, like she didn't care. about anything else. But Dad grabbed her arm. He held her back tightly. His face was pale. His grip was like iron. He wouldn't let her go. He knew something. "Don't," he said. His voice was shaking. I didn't know why he said it, but I felt it too. Something was wrong with that circle. Something very wrong. A coldness came from it, like a freezer door opening. It made my teeth chatter. It was a deep, unnatural cold. It seeped into my bones, making me shiver. The whispers got louder, like a crowd of people talking, all at once. They were angry. They sounded like a buzzing, a low, mean sound. They were all around us, pressing in, like they were closing a trap. I still couldn't understand them, but they sounded angry and very cold. They were full of hate and old power. They wanted us to stay. The air felt heavy, like it was pressing down on us, making it hard to breathe. It felt like a giant hand, pushing on my chest. I gasped for air. It was hard to stand up straight. My legs felt weak. My head felt dizzy. I saw that figure again. It was closer this time, much closer than before. It was tall, too tall. Its arms hung down past its knees. It was very thin. It was like a shadow that stood up, darker than the night around it. It moved without a sound, just gliding, like it had no feet. Its face was blurry. I couldn't make it out clearly. But those eyes, those glowing eyes burned into me. They stared right into my soul. They were fixed on me. They didn't move, like they were trying to pull me in. They were trying to tell me something. Something terrible, something I didn't want to know. I grabbed Dad's arm. My hand shook. "We have to go," I whispered. My voice was barely there, a tiny sound, lost in the whispers. He nodded his head. He looked scared too, but Mom wouldn't move. She was staring at the scarf. Tears streamed down her face. She couldn't look away. Her whole body was shaking. She just stood there, like she was frozen. She was in a trance, like the circle had her, and wouldn't let go. Then we heard it, Lily's voice. It was faint at first. It came from deeper in the woods. She called out. It was a small, scared sound, so tiny. It sounded so real, so much like her, a little girl, lost and afraid. Mom broke free from Dad's grip. She ran toward the sound. She didn't stop. She didn't even look back. She just ran, like a mother bear. Her love for Lily was stronger than any fear, stronger than anything. Dad yelled for her to stop. "No, wait!" But she didn't listen to him. He started running after her. His flashlight bounced wildly. The beam jumped around. We chased after her. My legs burned. My lungs ached. I couldn't keep up. The trees whipped past. The ground was uneven. I stumbled often. The whispers changed then. They turned into laughter, cold and sharp, like knives cutting through the dark. It made my skin prickle. It wasn't human laughter. It was too high, too thin. It hurt my ears. It was mocking laughter, full of evil and pure joy. I tripped over a root. It was big and twisted. I fell hard. My hands scraped against the dirt. It stung badly. I tried to get up. My knees hit the ground. A sharp pain shot up my leg. I tasted dirt. The laughter grew louder. It surrounded me, like I was caught in a net. When I looked up, Mom and Dad were gone. The flashlight was gone too. I was alone, completely alone in the dark forest. My heart pounded. The laughter still echoed. It seemed to come from everywhere. I was terrified. The darkness was total. I couldn't see a thing. Just black. I got up quickly. My legs felt shaky. The forest was alive now. Branches creaked and groaned. Shadows moved all around me. They danced. They twisted into scary shapes, like monsters, reaching for me. The trees seemed to lean in, their branches like arms, grabbing at me. Lily's voice called again. "Mommy?" But it didn't sound right. It was too high, too echoey, like it wasn't really her voice at all. It sounded like it came from far away, but also very close. It was confusing. It was a trick. I knew it, but I couldn't stop myself. But I followed it anyway. I had to find her. I had to. I couldn't leave her. Not alone in this place. I had to be brave. My feet moved on their own, pulling me deeper into the darkness. The path led me to another clearing. This one was smaller. It was very dark. The trees here were even thicker. They blocked out the little moonlight. It was pitch black. The air was heavy and cold, like the other clearing. Lily was there. She was standing in the middle. Her back was to me. Her pink dress was dirty. Her hair was tangled with leaves and twigs. She stood so still, not moving at all, like a statue. She looked so small, so helpless. My heart ached for her. "Lily," I said. My voice was shaking badly. I took a step closer. My voice barely came out. It was a whisper. I was so scared. I could feel my own breath, coming in shaky gasps. My body trembled. She didn't turn around. The whispers stopped completely. The silence was worse. It was a heavy, dead silence, like the whole forest was holding its breath, waiting. It was the silence of a predator, right before it strikes. I knew it. I stepped closer again. My sneakers crunched on the ground. "Lily, it's me." I reached out my hand. I wanted to touch her shoulder, to make sure she was real, to make sure it was her, and not something else, something terrible. She turned then. She turned very slowly, like she was in a dream, her head tilted to the side. Her movements were stiff, not like Lily at all. Her neck made a soft crackling sound as she turned. It was sickening. Her face wasn't hers. It was wrong. Her eyes were black, like deep, empty holes. They were just black circles, no whites, no pupils, just black, like two dark pits, staring into nothing, but also staring at me. Her mouth stretched too wide. It went past her cheeks. It showed too many teeth. They were sharp and long, too many teeth for a little girl. It was a horrible sight. They were like needles, pointed and white, gleaming in the dark. I screamed. It was a loud, raw sound. It tore from my throat. I stumbled back quickly. I fell backward onto the ground. My hands flew up, trying to push it away. My mind couldn't make sense of it. This wasn't Lily. This was a nightmare. The thing that wasn't Lily laughed. It was the same cold laugh from before. It was sharp and horrible. It made my blood run cold. It echoed in the small clearing. It stepped closer to me, its head still tilted, those black eyes staring. It moved with a strange grace, like a spider or something not quite right. I scrambled up. My legs moved without thinking. Just run. I ran. I didn't know where I was going. Just away. Away from that thing. The forest seemed to twist around me. The trees moved closer. They seemed to block my way. The path disappeared. Everything looked the same. The darkness was a maze, leading me nowhere, just deeper. Their branches grabbed at my clothes. They scratched my arms. They felt like sharp claws, tugging at my shirt, trying to hold me back. I heard my parents calling my name. "Son, where are you?" But their voices were far away. They sounded faint, like they were miles away. I was truly alone now. Their voices were fading, like a dream. I was losing them. I kept running. My lungs burned. My legs ached. I couldn't stop. Every breath hurt. My chest felt tight. But I pushed myself harder. My heart was a drum, beating against my ribs, telling me to keep going. Then I tripped again. This time, I fell into that stone circle, the one from before. The old, mossy stones scraped my knees. I landed hard in the black dirt. The ground was so cold, like ice, even though it was summer. It was colder than anything. It stole my breath. It stole my warmth. It felt like it was sucking the warmth out of me, making me numb. My body felt heavy, like something was holding me down. A huge weight pressed on me. I couldn't move my arms. I couldn't lift my head. I was pinned to the cold, black earth. I couldn't fight it. The whispers came back. They were louder than ever. They were in my head. They buzzed inside my skull like 1,000 angry bees. I couldn't think. They were words now, not clear, but I felt their meaning. They told me to stay, to give up, to just close my eyes and sleep. They promised peace. They promised quiet. They promised it would all stop. They promised an end to the fear, to the running, to everything. I saw shapes in the dark, tall figures. They were circling the stones. Their eyes glowed, just like the figure I saw before. Their voices mixed with the whispers. They were all around me, pressing in. I felt so small and helpless. They were getting closer. Their glowing eyes were everywhere, watching me. They were like a fence, closing me in. No escape. I thought of Lily, my real Lily, how scared she must be. I thought of her little face, her bright smile, her tiny hands. I thought of her safe in my arms, her soft hair, her happy giggles. I thought of Mom and Dad, searching for us, lost in the dark, their worried faces, their desperate calls. I couldn't leave them. I couldn't give up. I had to be strong. I pushed against the cold ground. My arms shook. My muscles burned. I slowly stood up. It took all my strength, every bit I had left. I fought the heavy weight. I screamed back at the whispers, not with my voice, but with my will. The figures screamed. It was a terrible sound. It made my ears hurt. It was a sharp, high screech, like metal tearing. It filled the air. It was a sound of pure rage and surprise. They didn't expect me to fight. I ran out of the circle. My legs were shaking hard. I didn't look back. I just ran as fast as I could, away from the screams, away from the cold. My heart was still pounding, but I was moving. I was free. The forest was quieter now, like it was waiting, watching me. The whispers were gone. The laughter was gone. Just the sound of my feet. It was an eerie quiet, like the forest was holding its breath, still watching. I found the path back to our campsite. My flashlight flickered. It was almost dead. The beam was weak. It barely showed the way. But it was enough. It was a tiny light in a huge darkness. But it was my light. When I got there, Mom and Dad were waiting. Their faces were pale. They looked so tired. Their eyes were red. But they were there. They were holding each other, shaking. But they were together. Lily was with them. The real Lily. She was holding Mom's hand tightly. She looked small. Her hair was messy. But her eyes were normal. Her eyes were wide. But they were Lily's eyes, not those black holes. She ran to me then. She hugged me so tight, I hugged her back. Her arms wrapped around my neck. I held her close. She felt so warm. She was soft, and real, and safe. I buried my face in her hair. "I got lost," she whispered. Her voice was so small. "But you found me." She buried her face in my shirt. She was shaking a little, but she was safe. Mom and Dad rushed over. They hugged me too. All three of us in a big hug. We didn't talk about what happened. Not then. Not ever. Not a single word. We just held each other and cried a little. It was a silent promise to never speak of it, to just forget. We packed up everything that night. We left the campsite. The car bounced over the dirt road. We didn't even put the tent away right. We just threw everything in. We just wanted to go, to get out, to leave that place behind. I kept looking back at the forest, expecting to see those glowing eyes, expecting to see the tall, thin figures waiting for me, expecting to see the black-eyed thing standing by the trees. I didn't. But I heard the whispers one last time. They were faint, like a soft goodbye, or a promise that it wasn't over. They were like a breath on the back of my neck, even in the car. We never went camping again. Not in a forest. Not anywhere. We sold the old station wagon. We moved to a new house, far from the woods. Sometimes, when it's very quiet, I still hear those voices. They're softer now, but they're there, just at the edge of my hearing, like a hum, a low, constant sound, always present. They are like a memory that won't go away, always lurking. I don't think the forest ever lets you go. Not really. It stays with you. It gets inside your head. It changes things. It leaves its mark. It changes how you see the world, how you feel safe, how you sleep. Lily's okay now. She's grown up. But she doesn't talk about that night. She avoids forests. She doesn't like the dark. She gets jumpy sometimes. She leaves lights on at night. She checks the locks. She's always looking. Mom and Dad act like it was just a bad trip, a scary camping story. They tell people we had to leave early because of a storm or bugs. They try to make it sound normal, like it was nothing, just a bad vacation. But I see the way they look at the woods. When we drive by them, their faces get tight. Their eyes get distant. like they're remembering. They remember the whispers, the cold, the fear, the missing Lily. I know they heard the whispers too. They just don't say it out loud. They don't want to make it real. They want to forget, just like me. But forgetting is hard when it lives inside you, like a cold seed. I try to forget it all. I really do. But some nights, I dream. I dream of that circle of stones, the black burned ground, the cold. I dream of the tall figures, circling, their glowing eyes, those glowing eyes, staring at me from the dark, never blinking. They watch me in my sleep. They follow me. They know where I am. And that thing, the thing with Lily's face, its wide, horrible smile, it reaches for me. In my dreams, its long, sharp teeth. It feels like it's still out there, waiting, in the deep, dark woods, waiting for me to come back, waiting for all of us. And sometimes, when the wind blows just right, I swear I hear it, calling my name, from deep within the whispering pines. They say strange things happen on the back roads of America. I'd heard those stories before, whispers between truckers late at night, tales told around campfires with shadows dancing all around. I never really believed any of it though, not one bit, not until that one night, the night I pulled off Route 41, way out in the middle of nowhere. I stopped at this gas station. It was just outside a place called Bates Point, a name I'd never heard before, and one I wish I could forget forever. My name is Michael Denton. I was just a regular guy, really. Nothing special about me. I was on a solo road trip, just me and the hum of the engine. I was trying to get away from things. A marriage that didn't work out. A job that was even worse. My whole life felt like it was falling apart, piece by piece. That marriage, it had been dying for a long time. Like a plant you forget to water, left in the sun. It just slowly withered day by day, losing its color. Sarah and I, we used to laugh so much. Our house was full of it, full of sunshine and noise, happy sounds echoing in every room. Then the laughter stopped. It got replaced by quiet, a heavy, sad quiet that pressed down on everything. It filled every room, every corner. We'd sit across from each other at dinner. Nothing to say. Just the clink of forks on plates. The only sound was the sad silence, thick and suffocating. Our daughter, Lily, she saw it. Kids always do. Their eyes are so sharp, they see everything. They feel everything too, like little sponges. She'd ask, "Mommy, Daddy, are you mad?" And our hearts would just break into a million pieces. We hated seeing her sad, her little face so worried. We tried. We really did. Counseling, date nights. It felt like homework, like a chore we had to do, not something we wanted to, like we were trying to fix a broken toy. But the magic was gone. The sparkle had just vanished, and we couldn't get it back, no matter how hard we tried. And the job. Oh, the job. It was a sales job, selling things no one really needed, things that just took up space, gathering dust. I hated it. Every single day was a struggle, putting on a fake smile, pretending to care about things I didn't, about numbers and targets, pretending to care about quotas. My soul felt like it was shrinking, like it was getting smaller and smaller day by day, fading away. So I just packed up a few bags, my old cooler full of warm sodas, and I drove, not looking back, just putting miles behind me. I didn't have a plan, no real place to go. Just the open road stretching out in front of me, endless under a huge sky. I just wanted to disappear for a while, let the miles wash over me, let the wind blow away all the bad feelings, all the sadness. I'd been driving since noon, somewhere in northern Arizona. The sun beat down, hot and heavy on the roof of my car, baking the asphalt. It was just a long, empty stretch of land. Nothing but rocks and dry bushes. The kind of place where you don't see another car for miles and miles. The sky looked endless. It was fading out, getting darker. The sun was dipping low, painting the clouds in fiery orange and purple colors. I saw the first stars popping out, tiny pinpricks in the huge purple sky, like someone had poked holes in a dark blanket, letting light through. My stomach rumbled. It was a deep, hollow sound. I hadn't eaten a real meal in hours, just a few stale crackers. I thought about a sandwich from the cooler, but I was tired, too tired to even chew, too tired to find it. My eyes felt heavy, like someone had put weights on my eyelids. My shoulders ached from holding the wheel, stiff and sore. My whole body screamed for a break, for a stop. Just 5 minutes to close my eyes. I needed gas, and maybe a cheap coffee, anything to keep me going, anything to keep my eyes open just a little longer, to fight the sleep. By the time I saw the sign, the sky was rusty orange. The neon lights flickered, fighting against the coming darkness, buzzing faintly. It said, "Tucker's Gas and Go." The letters buzzed, a low, broken sound. Some of them were broken, dark and dead, like missing teeth. I turned the wheel. My tires crunched on the gravel. It was a loud sound in the quiet desert. It echoed, bouncing off the distant hills. I pulled right up to pump 2. The engine sighed as I turned it off. A long, tired breath, like it was relieved to stop. Silence. A deep, heavy silence. It felt different out here. Not like the quiet of a sleeping town, but something else. It was the kind of quiet that made your ears ring, the kind that felt too big, too empty. At first, the place looked really old, like it was stuck in time. From a black and white movie maybe, from long ago. No fancy credit card machine, not like the new places. Just an old pump, rusty and worn, its numbers faded. No bright lead signs, just chipped paint on the walls, peeling away like old skin, showing the bare wood underneath, rotten and dark. And one old light tube, it buzzed above the rusty roof, a sickly yellow light, barely chasing away the shadows, leaving more than it lit. The small store next to it looked empty, like no one was there, not a soul, just a dark box, waiting. But the open sign was glowing red. It was a strange sight, a lonely red glow, like a single eye watching me. I stopped for a moment. I thought about it. My gas tank was almost empty. The needle was practically on E, touching the bottom. I was running on fumes. Any minute the car might just cough and die. I couldn't risk that out here, not in this empty place. I hadn't seen another gas station for more than an hour, maybe 2. Just endless desert, stretching on and on under a fading sky. It was just desert, miles and miles of nothing. So I knew I had to stop. There was no other choice, no other way forward. I got out of my car. The air felt dry. It smelled like ozone and metal, like after a big storm, just before the rain hits. But there was no storm, just that weird smell. It hung heavy in the air, making my nose tickle, making me feel uneasy. Everything felt so still. It wasn't a peaceful quiet, though. It felt wrong, like something was holding its breath, waiting for me. Like something was just waiting. Like something was listening to me. My skin prickled, like tiny bugs were crawling on it, making me jump. A cold shiver went down my spine. I looked around. Nothing moved. Not a leaf, not a pebble, not a single blade of grass. No wind, no crickets. Just that deep, heavy silence. It felt like a blanket, thick and suffocating, pressing down on my chest. I walked toward the store door. My boots made soft sounds on the gravel. Each step felt heavy, like my feet were stuck, like I was walking through thick mud, but it was just dry, dusty ground. My legs felt like lead, dragging me down. I reached for the door handle. It was cold under my fingers, so cold, like it had been sitting in ice for days. I pushed it open. It groaned, a long, drawn-out sound, like an old man complaining, or a dying animal. The bell above the door jingled. It made a loud sound in the quiet. It made me jump, my whole body tensing. My heart leaped in my chest. I almost cried out. It was just a bell, but it sounded like thunder in that silence. The store inside was dark. The lights were really dim. Just a few weak bulbs, barely pushing back the gloom, leaving most of the store in shadow. It was full of weird stuff, Dusty cans on the shelves, their labels faded, impossible to read, crumbling at the edges. Candy I hadn't seen since I was a kid. Old brands, things from another time, like they were dug up from a grave, ancient and forgotten. Strange sodas in old bottles. Their colors looked too bright, like fake jewels, or too dull, like dirty water, murky and uninviting. It was freezing cold in there, like someone left the freezer door open. A shiver ran through me, deep into my bones, making them ache. I could see my breath, little puffs of white in the dim light, like tiny clouds escaping my mouth, floating away into the cold. I rubbed my arms. My teeth started to chatter a little. It was so unexpected, this sudden, deep cold in the middle of the desert. Then I saw him, the guy working there, the attendant. He was standing behind the counter, perfectly still. He wasn't moving at all, just standing there, like a statue, or a mannequin in a dusty old store left behind. He was so still it was creepy. Not a twitch, not a blink, just frozen in place, like time had stopped for him. He was so thin, like a matchstick, ready to snap in half. His clothes hung loose on him, like they were on a hanger, too big. His skin was super pale, like a ghost, almost see-through, like thin paper, showing faint blue veins underneath. His eyes were big and dark, like two marbles, black and shiny. They looked too big for his face, too wide, too empty. They didn't blink, just stared. Right through me, like I wasn't even there, like I was just a ghost myself. I felt a knot in my stomach. This place was really weird. Everything about it felt wrong, from the cold to the silence. I tried to sound normal. "Pump 2, I said. My voice sounded rough, like sandpaper, dry and scratchy. I cleared my throat. It felt dry, like I hadn't had water in days, even though I had just finished a bottle. He blinked. It was a really slow blink, like it took a long time, like his eyelids were heavy stones, grinding slowly. His eyelids moved like they were heavy, like he was fighting sleep, or like he was just very, very tired beyond words. "You're the third one today," he mumbled. His voice was low. It was raspy, like he hadn't used it in a long time, like a rusty hinge. Then he added, "You should have kept driving." His words hung in the cold air, heavy and strange, a warning I didn't understand. I half laughed. It was a nervous sound, like a tiny cough. I thought he was just joking around, trying to be funny, or maybe he was just a weird old guy who liked to scare people, playing a trick, but he didn't smile, not even a little bit. His face stayed flat, like a blank wall, showing no feeling. His marble eyes just stared. No warmth, no humor. Just that empty, dark look that made my skin crawl. "You're not supposed to be here," he said. "Not after sundown." His voice was a bit stronger now, more serious. It sent another shiver through me, colder than before. This wasn't a joke. It was a real warning. "Look, I just need gas," I told him. I tried to sound calm, like I wasn't bothered, like nothing was wrong at all. "I'll be gone in 5 minutes. I just wanted to fill up and get out, to drive away from this place as fast as I could." He looked at the old clock behind him. It had big numbers, black hands that didn't move, stuck in place. It wasn't ticking, just frozen, stuck on a time that meant nothing, a time that didn't exist. "Too late," he said. His voice was flat, like a stone dropping into a deep, dark well, making no ripples. Then all the lights went out. Just like that. Everything. The whole world went black, suddenly and completely. It wasn't a flicker. It was instant, like someone pulled a plug on the whole world, plunging it into total darkness. The buzzing sign outside, the humming fridge inside, all gone. No sound, no light, just nothing. The dim lights in the store, the red glow of the open sign, all black. Total darkness fell, thick and heavy. The silence that came after was not normal. It felt like it was eating everything up, swallowing sounds, swallowing the air. It was a total, crushing silence. It pressed down on me, making it hard to breathe. My ears rang. My heart pounded so loud I could hear it, like a drum beating inside my chest, shaking my whole body. I turned around. My heart started to beat fast. A cold dread filled me, spreading through my body like ice water. The windows were all fogged up, so thick I couldn't see anything outside, not a single star, not a hint of the desert. It was like a thick white curtain, like someone had painted them over with white paint, sealing me in. I pressed my hand against the glass. It was icy cold, colder than the air inside. It stung my fingers, a deep chill. Then something moved. Outside, I saw a shape. Through the fog, a dark outline, barely visible. It was tall, too tall to be a person, taller than the doorframe. Its arms were long and thin. They hung down past its knees, like a spider's legs, thin and spindly, swaying slightly. It didn't have a face, just a gray mask, stretched out where a face should be, smooth and featureless, smooth and blank, no eyes, no mouth, just a flat gray surface, like a piece of clay molded by unseen hands. "What the hell is that?" I whispered. My voice was shaky, barely a sound, just a breath escaping my lips. The attendant didn't answer me. He was moving, fast now, faster than I thought his thin body could move. He was backing away. He was going into a storage room, a dark opening in the wall like a hungry mouth. His eyes were wide, full of fear, more fear than I had ever seen on anyone's face, pure terror. "You brought it," he hissed. His voice was tight, full of anger and terror, all mixed up into a choked sound. "You all do, every time. You bring it." He kept backing up, his eyes fixed on the window, on the gray shape. "What do you mean, you all?" I asked. My mind was racing. My brain couldn't keep up with what was happening. What was he talking about? Who were you all? My head spun, trying to make sense of this nightmare. He just kept staring at the window, at the gray shape. His mouth was open, a silent scream frozen on his face. Then the windows shattered. Glass flew everywhere. It made a huge crash, like a bomb going off right next to me. Like a bomb going off. Shards of glass rained down around me. They glittered in the dim, almost non-existent light. I ducked, covering my head with my arms. The sound was deafening, making my ears ache, making my whole body vibrate. The front doors of the store flew open. They slammed against the walls with a loud bang, shaking the whole building. A big gust of air hit me. It was so cold. It stung my skin, like tiny needles pricking me all over. Like tiny needles. It felt like ice water, splashing all over me. I fell backward, losing my balance completely. I landed hard on the dusty floor. My head hit something. A dull thud, and stars swam before my eyes, blurring everything. When I looked up, the figure was inside. But it wasn't just one. My eyes widened in horror. My breath caught. My eyes widened. My breath caught in my throat. I couldn't breathe, couldn't swallow, couldn't make a sound. There were 5 of them, standing there, in the doorway, blocking out the last bit of light, like dark holes. They were completely still, just like the attendant had been, but worse. Much, much worse. More terrifying. Each one looked worse than the last. More messed up, more broken, like twisted sculptures of human bodies. Some had too many joints, like their arms and legs bent in weird places, like they were made of twigs, snapped and re-glued wrong, or broken dolls put back together wrong. They looked wrong, deeply, horribly wrong, like a bad dream come to life. Some had none at all. Their limbs were smooth, like thick ropes, bending without a single joint, flowing strangely. Their skin looked like it had melted, like wax that got too hot, dripping and hardening again, leaving lumps and hollows. It was awful to see, like old candles, melted and twisted and deformed, beyond belief, beyond anything I had ever imagined. They didn't walk, they just glided, like they were floating, smoothly, without a sound, like they had no weight. They didn't make a sound, no footsteps, just silent movement, like ghosts in the dark, sliding across the floor. My heart was a frantic bird in my chest, beating against my ribs, trying to escape, trying to fly away. I quickly crawled behind the counter. My hands scraped on the floor. Dust and bits of broken glass. I could feel them digging into my palms, tiny sharp pains. I ignored them, just kept moving, desperate for cover. I looked around for the attendant. He was gone. nowhere to be seen, just vanished, like he was never there. Just vanished. Like smoke, disappearing into thin air. I was alone. With them. All alone. The things started to move. Slowly. Like they didn't need to hurry. Like they had all the time in the world to find me. They spread out, moving through the aisles, their long, thin arms swaying like dead branches in a breeze, reaching out. I could hear their clothes rustling. A dry, papery sound, like old leaves being dragged across a stone floor. They weren't looking at me. Not yet. They were just searching, like blind hunters, sniffing the air. I held my breath. My body was shaking. I tried to be as small as possible, to disappear, to become invisible. I could feel the cold coming off them. A deep, unnatural cold. It seeped into my bones, making them ache, made my teeth ache, made my whole body feel like ice, like I was freezing from the inside out. One of them glided closer to the counter. Its blank face turned. It was looking right at me, or at least facing me. I squeezed my eyes shut. No, it wasn't looking. It was just facing me. It didn't have eyes after all. I heard a soft scraping sound, like something dragging on the floor, getting closer, closer to my hiding spot. Then a sniff, a quiet, wet sniff, right above me, right next to my head, so close I could almost feel it. My eyes flew open. It was right there, leaning over the counter. Its gray, blank face was inches from mine. No breath, no smell, just that cold and the silence. It was unbearable, crushing me, stealing my air. I bolted out the back door. I didn't think. I just ran, into the cold desert air, away from the thing. The night was black, no moon, just the faint glow of distant stars, tiny pinpricks in the vast darkness. I ran behind the building. My heart was pounding in my chest. It felt like a drum, beating so hard it hurt, beating so hard it hurt. My legs burned, every muscle screamed in protest, aching with every step. But I didn't stop. I just kept going, away from the gas station, away from them, from the terrible things. The gravel crunched under my feet. I stumbled, almost fell, my legs wobbling like jelly, but I caught myself. I couldn't stop. Not now. Not when they were so close. Not when they were behind me. I ran until I reached an old shed. It was behind the gas station, a dark shape against the sky, barely visible. It looked like it hadn't been used in years. Rusted metal, broken wood, falling apart, slowly decaying. It was just a dark shape in the night, but it was shelter. It was a place to hide, a tiny bit of safety. I yanked the rusted door open. It squeaked loudly, a rusty shriek that cut through the silence, making me wince. I jumped inside, slamming the door shut behind me, plunging myself into total darkness, a suffocating black. It was pitch black in there. I couldn't see my hand in front of my face. Not a single thing, not a glimmer. The air was thick with dust. It smelled old. Like dirt and decay, like something long dead and forgotten. I fumbled for my phone. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold it. I needed a light, any light. I needed to see. Anything. Just a tiny bit of light to push back the fear. I found it, pulled it out of my pocket. My finger slipped on the smooth glass, almost dropping it. No signal. The screen just showed empty bars, no connection. Nothing. Just a dead screen. My heart sank. A wave of despair washed over me. I was truly alone. No way out, no help coming. Battery was at 2%, just a tiny bit left. Not enough to do anything useful, not enough to even call. Not enough to call for help, not enough to even see the time, just a dying glow, fading fast. And then, from the darkness, a voice whispered. It was right next to my ear, so close I felt a breath, but there was no breath. Just the sound, chilling me to the bone. Michael. It was my ex-wife's voice, Sarah, so clear, so real, like she was standing right there beside me. It made my blood run cold. It was her voice, her soft, gentle voice, the one I missed so much, the one she used when she was worried, or sad, the one that always made me want to protect her. My mind reeled. How? How could they know her voice? How could they sound so much like her, so perfect? Then another voice, even closer, a child's voice, small and sweet, full of innocent wonder. Daddy? That was my daughter, my little girl, Lily, her sweet voice. My heart broke into a million pieces, the one she used when she woke up from a bad dream, or wanted a hug. So innocent, so pure. It was so real, so full of innocent question. It tore me apart inside, ripping at old wounds. I backed into the corner of the shed. My whole body was trembling. I couldn't stop it, couldn't control it. My knees buckled. I slid down the wall, hitting the dusty floor with a thud, collapsing. These things, whatever they were, they didn't just look wrong. They were worse. So much worse. They knew you. They knew things about you. Deep things. Secret things you thought no one knew. Things that hurt. Things that haunted you in the dark. Things you tried to forget, but couldn't. They spoke with the voices of people you lost, people you missed, people you loved, people you couldn't save, people you felt guilty about, people whose pain you carried. The voices came again, whispering my name, whispering Lily's name, over and over, twisting it. They twisted the words, made them sound wrong, full of pain, full of accusation, full of sorrow. Why did you leave us, Mikkel? Sarah's voice, but it was distorted, twisted, full of blame. Are you coming home, Daddy? Lily's voice. It sounded so sad, so lost, so heartbroken. It was a cruel trick, a horrifying game. They were playing with my mind, tearing it apart. I screamed so loud, my throat tore. It burned like fire, raw and bleeding. I screamed until I couldn't anymore, until my voice was gone, just a raw whisper, a rasp. My chest hurt, my head throbbed. I curled into a ball, trying to disappear, to make myself small. I just wanted it to stop, to make the voices go away, to make the nightmare end right now. I squeezed my eyes shut. I covered my ears with my hands, but the voices were inside. They echoed in my head. A nightmare made real, living inside me, never leaving. I don't know how long I was there, screaming, crying, shaking. It felt like forever, like the night would never end, like I was trapped, forever in the dark. I must have passed out. My body just gave up. It couldn't take any more. It just shut down. When I woke up, it was dawn. The first light of morning, soft and gray, filtering through the cracks. A thin ray of light came in through a crack in the shed wall. It looked like hope, a tiny sliver. I was alone. The shed door stood open, just a sliver, letting in the cool air, a silent invitation. The air was cold, but not the same cold, not that deep, unnatural chill. Just the normal desert morning cold, the kind that makes you shiver, but not with fear, just with the morning air. I pushed myself up. My body ached. Every muscle was stiff, like I'd run a marathon, every joint screaming. My throat was raw. My head felt heavy, like a rock, pounding with a dull ache, a constant throb. I stumbled out of the shed. My eyes blinked in the weak light. They hurt, trying to adjust to the brightness. The gas station looked normal again. No shattered windows, no fog on the glass. The pumps stood quietly, just like any other gas station. Nothing seemed wrong, nothing out of place. The open sign was off. The neon tubes were dark. Everything looked peaceful, like a postcard. The pump 2 handle was still dangling from my car, just like I left it, like nothing had happened at all. It was like nothing had happened, like it was all a bad dream, a terrible nightmare, a trick of my mind. But I knew it had. I felt it, in my bones, in my raw throat, in the way my heart still hammered. I walked slowly towards the store. My legs were still shaky. Every step felt heavy, like I was walking through water. I looked around. The ground was clear. No broken glass. No sign of a struggle. Nothing. It was too clean. Too perfect. That made it even worse. It made my skin crawl. Made me feel sick. I pushed open the store door. It didn't groan this time. No bell. Just a soft click. A normal sound. The store inside was dim, but not dark like before. Just normal low light, like any other small shop. The shelves were still stocked with weird items. Dusty cans. Off-brand candy. Strange sodas. Everything was just as I remembered. Nothing was out of place, nothing changed. The temperature was normal now, not freezing cold. Just cool, like a regular store on a summer day. I looked around. The attendant was gone. Nowhere to be seen. No sign of him anywhere. I checked behind the counter. Nothing. It was empty, like he was never there, like he was a ghost. But the weirdest thing? My receipt was printed out. It was sitting right there, on the counter, under a small, smooth rock, like it was left just for me to find. It said, $0, 0 cents. Like I hadn't bought anything, like I never even got gas, like it was all free. And scrawled on the bottom, in pen, were words. You got lucky. Don't stop again. The handwriting was neat, small, but firm, like a warning, clear and sharp. I grabbed the receipt. My hand was shaking. I folded it carefully, putting it in my wallet. I needed proof. Something real. Something to show me it wasn't just my mind playing tricks. I got in my car. My hands gripped the wheel. My knuckles were white, pressing hard, trying to feel something real. I started the engine. It roared to life. A comforting sound, loud and real, a sound of escape. I put the car in reverse. Gravel crunched. I backed out, turning away from the pumps, away from the store. I drove like hell. I didn't stop for anything, not food, not gas, not even sleep. I just kept going, mile after mile. The sun rose higher, burning away the night, burning away the shadows. It burned orange, then yellow, filling the sky with bright light, pushing back the darkness. The desert stretched out, endless, empty. But now it felt different, changed forever. Every shadow looked like a figure. Every sound made me jump, made my heart skip, made me look around. I kept checking my rearview mirror. Nothing. Just the empty road behind me, stretching back to nothing. But I couldn't shake the feeling. Like I was being watched. Like eyes were on me, from somewhere unseen. I drove until my eyes burned, until my body screamed for rest, until I couldn't go on anymore, until I finally pulled into a motel. It was 2 states over, a long, long way from Betis Point. A place I hoped I'd never see again. A place I wanted to forget, to erase from my memory. I checked in. The motel room was small, clean, normal. It felt safe, a tiny island in the world. I locked the door, then locked it again, and again, just to be sure, just to feel safe. My mind was still buzzing. My body ached. Every muscle was stiff and sore, screaming from the tension. I opened my laptop. My hands were still trembling a little, but I needed to know. I needed to know. I needed answers. Anything to make sense of it, to put the pieces together. I Googled Tucker's Gas and Go, Betis Point. I typed it in slowly, carefully, my fingers hesitant. My fingers hovered over the keys. I pressed enter, holding my breath, waiting for the results. The search results came up, but there were no results. Nothing, not a single link. Nothing came up. No such place existed. It was like it was never there. Like it was all a dream. It was like it was never there. Like it was all a dream, a bad hallucination, a trick, but it wasn't a dream. I knew it wasn't. I felt the fear deep in my gut, a cold knot. I heard the voices. I had the receipt. It was real. It had to be. It was my only proof. I tried other searches. Gas stations near Betis Point, nothing. Old gas stations, Arizona Route 41, still nothing. The internet had no record, no memory of it. It was like the place had been wiped clean from the map, like it was never real. But how could that be? How could a whole gas station, a building, just vanish without a trace? It made no sense. I looked at the receipt again. The price is $0. You got lucky. Don't stop again. Who wrote it? The attendant? Was he part of it? Or a victim too, trapped there, forced to warn others? I thought about the voices. Sarah. Lily. My heart ached. A deep, sad ache, full of guilt. They knew my deepest pains, my biggest regrets, the things I couldn't fix, the mistakes I made. They used them against me, to scare me, to break me, to tear me apart from the inside. I closed the laptop. I lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, seeing nothing but the dark shapes. The silence of the motel room was different from the desert silence. This was a safe silence, a quiet I could trust, a quiet that didn't feel wrong, didn't feel like it was watching. But the images wouldn't leave my mind. The tall, faceless figures, their melted skin, their gliding movements. They were burned into my brain, a permanent scar. And the voices. Oh, the voices. They played on a loop in my head, over and over, never stopping. I couldn't sleep. Not really. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them. I saw the gray mask. I heard Lily's voice, asking if I was coming home, full of sadness. The next morning, I got up early. I felt like a zombie, tired and empty, like a shell. I showered. The hot water felt good on my tired muscles, easing the ache, washing away the fear. I tried to shake off the fear, to tell myself it was just a nightmare, a hallucination from driving too long, from being so tired, so stressed, so broken. But the receipt was still in my wallet, a real, physical thing, proof that it wasn't a dream. I drove again. I stayed on the main roads. No more shortcuts, no more back roads. I avoided anything that looked old or forgotten, anything that looked too quiet. I filled up at busy, brightly lit gas stations, with lots of people around making noise. I paid with my credit card. I watched the numbers tick up. I made sure there was a charge, a real charge, a normal transaction, a normal receipt. I ate at diners with other people. I tried to act normal, to smile, to laugh, to pretend, but inside I was different. I was always looking over my shoulder. Every shadow seemed to move. Every quiet moment felt wrong, felt dangerous, felt like they were near. I couldn't shake the feeling that they were still out there, waiting, watching, just beyond my sight, just out of reach. Weeks passed, then months. I found a new place to live, a small apartment, far from the desert, far from Route 41. I got a new job, something simple, something I didn't hate. I tried to rebuild my life, to forget that night, to move on, to leave it behind. I talked to Sarah. We were trying to be friends. For Lily, it was hard, but we were trying, taking small steps, slowly. Lily was doing well. She was happy. That was all that mattered to me. I never told anyone about that night. Not Sarah, not my friends. Who would believe me? They'd think I was crazy. They'd look at me funny, like I was sick. Sometimes, I still have nightmares. I wake up in a cold sweat. I hear the whispers. I see the gray faces looming over me in the dark. And sometimes, when I drive through fog at night, when the road is empty, when the world outside my car seems to disappear into the thick white mist, I glance in my rearview mirror, and I swear, I see 5 shadows, sitting quietly in the back seat. They don't move. They don't make a sound, just sitting there watching me. Their blank faces turn towards me, waiting. I speed up. My heart pounds. I try to outrun them, but I know I can't. They're always there, in the corners of my vision, in the quiet moments, in the deep, dark parts of my mind. They followed me, from that gas station, from that night. They are a part of me now, a chilling reminder that some things, once seen, can never be unseen, and some places once visited can never truly be left behind, even if they don't exist on any map, even if the world says they aren't real. My name's Jake. I swear, I never thought something like this could happen to me. I'm just a regular guy, 16 years old. I live in a small town. Nothing ever really happens here. We have one stoplight, that's it. There's a diner too. They always have the same old pies, and our movie theater only plays really old films. My life was pretty normal. I went to school, played basketball. I hung out with my best friend Max. We'd go to the arcade a lot. Life was just easy, you know. But then, about a month ago, things got weird. Real weird, actually. It all started when I got a new job. It was at the old gas station on the edge of town. It was called Pete's Pit Stop. But Pete himself was long gone. Now it was just me working there. I worked the graveyard shift. That meant from 10 at night, all the way until 6 in the morning. It was quiet work mostly. I just pumped gas for a few cars, and sold sodas to truckers. The first few nights were fine. They were just really boring. I'd listen to music on my phone. Sometimes I did my homework. I'd watch the stars through the big front windows. The gas station sat all alone out there. It was way past the last streetlights. Dark fields stretched out all around it. It felt like the very end of the world. Then, it started. It was this feeling, like someone was watching me. Even when no cars were around, I'd be wiping down the counters. Then I'd get this prickly feeling. It was on the back of my neck, like eyes were on me, following every move. It made my skin crawl a little. I'd look up quickly, but the lot would be totally empty, just the hum of the gas pumps and the wind rattling the old sign. I told myself it was nothing, just my brain playing tricks on me. It was so late, after all. But deep down, I wasn't so sure. The feeling just wouldn't go away. It began subtly, like a whisper. A tiny itch I couldn't scratch. I'd be stalking the candy bars, and suddenly the hairs on my arms would stand up, like a cold breeze just swept through. But the air inside was warm and still. I'd spin around fast, my eyes darting to every corner, the rows of chips, the soda coolers, all of it just sat there, quiet. The only sound was the low hum of the big, old refrigerator. I tried to shake it off, told myself I was just tired. Working all night messes with your head. But the feeling came back. Every single night. It was like a shadow, just outside my sight. Always there, just at the edge. It made the quiet feel louder. The darkness outside felt deeper. I started to check the locks. More than I needed to, really. Just to make sure everything was shut tight. One night, it was a Tuesday. That feeling got real strong. The moon was full outside. It made everything look spooky, but also really bright. I was just about to close the register. Then I heard it. A soft tap. It wasn't on the door. It was on the big front window. Right near my head, actually. My heart jumped in my chest. I froze right there. My hand was hovering over the cash drawer. Tap. There it was again. A little louder this time. Like a fingernail, light and sharp. My breath caught in my throat. I looked out, squinting hard. I tried to see into the moonlight. Nothing was there, just the reflection of the bright lights inside. My own face stared back at me, looking pale and scared. I told myself it was probably a bug. Maybe it hit the glass, a big beetle, or maybe a tiny pebble. It could have come from a passing car, a truck kicking up gravel. But no cars had passed for a long time. My mind raced, trying to find a reason, any reason that made sense. But when I went back to counting money, I couldn't shake the feeling. Something was out there. Something was watching me. It wasn't just a random sound. It felt like a message, just for me. I kept glancing at the window. My eyes darted into the dark outside. Every shadow seemed to move. Every tree looked like a person standing still. I felt like a little kid again, scared of the monsters under the bed. Only now, the monster was outside the window, and I was all alone in the dark. The air in the gas station felt heavy, like something was pressing down on me. I just wanted my shift to be over. I wanted to be home, safe in my bed. But the clock moved so slowly. The next day at school, I told Max. We were sitting in the cafeteria, munching on soggy fries like always. "Dude, you're freaking out over nothing," he said. He tossed a fry in the air, then he caught it in his mouth. "Probably just the wind," he added, "or some tree branch hitting the glass." He laughed, but I didn't. "No, Max," I said, my voice low. It wasn't like that. It was different. I couldn't explain it to him fully, but it didn't feel like nothing. It felt personal, like someone was trying to get my attention. He saw my face, how serious I was. His smile faded a little. "You really think someone's out there?" "I don't know what to think," I told him, but it felt like a cold finger tracing my spine. Like someone was right there, looking at me. Max just shook his head, still unsure. "Maybe you're just tired, man. Night shifts mess with your head." I tried to forget it, but I couldn't. His words didn't make me feel better. They just made me feel more alone. That night, back at Pete's pit stop, I kept all the lights on bright, even in the storage room in the back. I walked around more than usual. I checked the gas pumps, walked the perimeter. I looked into the dark corners of the lot, just to feel a little less alone. The silence felt really heavy. It pressed down on me like a blanket. Every shadow seemed to stretch and twist. Every gust of wind sounded like a sigh. I kept jumping at every little noise. My heart was doing a drum solo in my chest. I tried to focus on my homework, but the words blurred on the page. My eyes kept darting to the windows, waiting for it, dreading it. Around midnight, it happened again. This time, it was louder, more rhythmic, more deliberate too. It sounded like it was coming from the side window, the one next to the soda coolers. My breath hitched, a cold knot in my stomach. My heart raced inside me. I crept towards it slowly. My sneakers were silent on the dusty floor. I pulled the blinds up, just an inch, very carefully, and squinted into the dark. The side of the building was still. The moon cast a pale glow over the gravel. Everything looked normal, but I knew it wasn't. The wind rustled the dry leaves. A lone cricket chirped somewhere far off. My eyes strained, trying to see anything, but then I saw it. A shadow, tall and thin. It was standing just beyond the edge of the light from the gas station sign. It didn't move at all, not even a sway. It didn't make a sound. It just stood there perfectly still, like it was waiting for me to see it. My breath caught in my throat, a gasp. It was too tall to be Max, too thin to be anyone I knew. My mind screamed, "Run!" I yanked the blind shut fast, my hand shaking so hard. I stumbled back, almost falling over a display. My breath came in short, quick gasps, like I'd just run a mile. My skin felt cold, clammy. I grabbed my phone, my hands shaking. I almost dropped it. They were shaking so bad. I called Max right away, my fingers fumbling. "Jake, chill, man," he said. His voice was groggy from sleep. "You sure it wasn't just a trick of the light?" "No!" I almost yelled into the phone. "I saw it, Max. It was a shadow. A tall, thin shadow just standing there. It was watching me, I know it." Max was quiet for a second. Then, his voice got a little softer. "Okay, Jake, calm down," he said. "Are you sure? Like, really sure?" "Positive," I whispered, my voice tight. It wasn't a tree. It wasn't the wind. It was a person, or something like a person. And they were watching me. I could feel their eyes on me. Even with the blinds closed and Max on the phone, it felt like they were burning holes through the glass. The next week was a blur. It was full of jumpy nerves and sleepless nights, one after another. Every creak of the old building, every rustle outside, every tiny sound made me flinch and jump, my heart pounding. I started keeping a heavy wrench. It was right by the register, always, just in case, you know. I practiced swinging it in my head, imagining hitting something, anything, just to feel a little bit of control. Mom noticed I was acting weird. She saw it when I got home in the mornings. My eyes were red, I was jumpy, but I didn't tell her about the shadow. She'd just worry too much, and she had enough on her plate. With her nurse job, she was always busy, working long hours, coming home tired. I didn't want to add to her worries. Besides, what could I even say? "Hey Mom, I think someone's stalking me." At the gas station, at night. It sounded crazy, even to me. She'd probably think I was losing it. I just told her I was tired. Tired from the night shifts, which was true enough. But the tiredness was a different kind. It was the tiredness of fear, deep in my bones. It was the tiredness of always looking over my shoulder, of always feeling like I was being watched. Even when I was safe at home, I felt it. Then, one night, I found something. It made my blood run cold, fast. It was almost dawn. My shift was ending soon. I was doing my last check of the pumps, just walking around, stretching my legs. Then I saw it. A piece of paper. It was tucked under the windshield wiper. On pump number 3, right in front. My heart started to beat faster, a frantic rhythm. I pulled it out, my fingers trembling. It was a photo, blurry but clear enough to see. It was me. I was standing inside the gas station, looking at the snack aisle just like any other night. Someone had taken it from outside. They had zoomed in really close, so you could see the tired look on my face, The fear in my eyes even. My stomach dropped like a stone, hitting the floor. Written in red marker, across the bottom of the photo, were 2 words: I'm closer. I dropped the paper right away, like it was burning my fingers. My hands were shaking so bad, my heart pounded so loud, I thought it had burst out of my chest. Who was doing this to me? Why me? What did they want from me? The air felt thin, hard to breathe. I looked around the empty lot, my eyes darting, searching, but there was no one there, just the silence mocking me. I thought about calling the cops, but what would I even say to them? I had no real proof, just a creepy feeling, and a single photo that could be a joke. They'd probably think I was making it up, or that some weird customer was playing a joke, a sick, twisted joke. They wouldn't understand how real it felt, how much it was messing with my head. I didn't sleep that day at all. I sat in my room, staring at the ceiling, thinking about that photo, over and over. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the gas station, dark and empty, with that shadow standing outside, watching, and then his face pale and smiling. It was burned into my mind. I felt trapped, like a bug in a jar, by the time I had to go back to work. That night, my eyes were burning. I felt like I was losing my mind, slowly. I had to do something, anything. I couldn't just sit there waiting for whoever this was, waiting for them to make their next move. So, I started paying attention. Really paying attention to everything. I watched the security cameras more closely, checked every corner of the lot. Every time I went outside, I scanned the darkness. I even started taking pictures of any weird cars that pulled in. Just in case, I thought. I felt like a detective, but a scared one. A kid playing a dangerous game. For a few days, nothing happened. No taps, no shadows, no creepy photos at all. The silence was almost worse. It was like the calm before a storm. I almost started to believe it was over. That maybe it was just some sick prank, and they'd gotten bored with me. A tiny bit of hope flickered inside me. Maybe I was finally safe. But then, Friday night hit, and everything changed again, for the worse. I was alone, just like always. Just the hum of the refrigerator, and the quiet hiss of the coffee machine. I was watching an old movie on my phone, trying to distract myself from the quiet, trying to pretend everything was normal. Suddenly, my phone buzzed. It was a text from an unknown number. Just one word. Look. My stomach dropped right down to my feet. My blood turned to ice in my veins. I grabbed the wrench, my hand tight on it, my knuckles white from gripping it so hard. I crept to the front window. My heart was hammering against my ribs. It felt like it would burst out. I peeked through the blinds, just a sliver, and there it was, the shadow again, standing in the same spot, by the old broken sign, tall and still. But this time it moved. It stepped forward slowly, into the pale light of the gas station sign. And then I saw a face, clearly, pale, hollow cheeks, sunken in, eyes like black holes, deep and dark. It was a guy, maybe in his 20s. He was wearing a dark hoodie, pulled up tight around his head. He stared right at me, right into my eyes. And I swear, he smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile at all. It was cold, like ice, sharp and cruel. It sent shivers down my back. A wave of pure terror washed over me. I dropped the blinds fast, letting them snap shut. I backed away quickly, tripping over my own feet. My breath hitched in my throat, a strangled sound. My phone buzzed again, right then. Another text appeared on the screen. I see you, Jake. I threw the phone across the room, like it was on fire, burning my hand. It hit the wall with a clatter. How did he know my name? He was outside, but he knew my name. He could see me, even through the blinds. It felt like he was inside my head. I grabbed the wrench again, tighter this time. I ran to the back room, my mind racing, checking every lock, every window, even the back door. The gas station felt like a cage, trapping me with whatever was outside. I called Max, my voice shaking bad. Dude, you gotta come over, now. Someone's outside the gas station, I gasped, and he knows my name. He smiled at me. Max sounded sleepy, but he said he'd be there. I'm on my way, Jake. Just stay calm. As fast as he possibly could, he promised. He showed up about 15 minutes later. His old beat-up car pulled into the empty lot, its headlights cut through the dark. He burst through the door, his eyes wide. "What's going on, man?" he asked. He looked around nervously, his head turning. I showed him the texts, the photo I'd found. I told him about the shadow, everything. His face went pale, really pale, like he'd seen a ghost. "We gotta call the cops, Jake," he said. His voice was firm, no longer joking. "This is messed up. This isn't just a prank anymore." We called 911 together, my hands still shaking. The cops showed up about 20 minutes later. Their blue lights flashed in the dark, painting the lot blue and red. I told them everything, again, trying to sound calm. Showed them the photo, the texts on my phone. They searched the lot, very carefully, with flashlights. They searched the fields around the gas station, even the small patch of woods nearby, for a long time. But they found nothing at all, not a single trace. No footprints, no sign of anyone. It was like he just disappeared, vanished into thin air like smoke. One of the cops had a thick mustache. He handed me back the photo, looking serious. "Could be a prank, kid," he said, but his voice sounded less sure. "But we'll keep an eye out," he added. "Call us if anything else happens." I wanted to scream at him, to yell. A prank? This wasn't some stupid joke. Someone was out there watching me, knowing my name, getting closer, and the cops just thought it was a game. After the cops left, Max stayed with me. He stayed for the rest of my shift until morning. We sat on the small bench behind the counter. The TV was on low, just background noise. Neither of us said much. The silence was heavy. "You think it's someone from school?" he asked finally. His voice was quiet, almost a whisper. I shook my head slowly, my mind blank. I didn't know anyone who'd do something like this, something this creepy, this scary, this evil. But the question stuck with me like glue. Who was this guy? And why was he after me? I couldn't stop thinking about it. It haunted me. The next day, I decided to fight back. I was done being scared all the time. I had to do something, anything to feel safe. I borrowed Max's dad's old hunting camera. It was the kind that takes pictures, when it senses movement, even tiny ones. I set it up outside the gas station, hidden deep in the bushes, carefully, near the old broken sign, pointing right at the spot, where I saw the shadow standing. If that creep came back, I'd have proof. Real proof this time, something they couldn't deny. That night, I barely slept a wink. My eyes were glued to my phone, waiting for the camera app to ping me. Every shadow outside looked like a person. Every little noise sounded like footsteps. My heart pounded with every beat of the clock. Around 2 a.m., it did. My phone buzzed loudly, vibrating in my hand. My heart jumped as I opened the app. The photo loaded, slowly, agonizingly. It was grainy, but clear enough to see. It was him, the same guy, same dark hoodie, standing by the old sign, just as before. But this time, he was holding something. A piece of paper, it looked like. And he held it up to the camera. My stomach twisted into knots, a cold dread. I zoomed in on the picture, my fingers shaking. The paper had one word on it, scrawled in bright red, soon. My blood ran cold, colder than ice. He knew about the camera. He knew I was watching. He was playing a game, and I was losing. I showed Mom the photo the next morning. Her face went white, totally pale, like she'd seen a ghost. She called the cops again, right away, her voice tight. This time, they took it more seriously. They set up patrols around the gas station, day and night. They even talked to the few houses nearby, asking questions. But nobody had seen anything. Nobody knew him. It was like this guy was a ghost, slipping in and out without a trace, unseen. Mom made me take a few nights off work. She said I needed to rest, to clear my head. But I couldn't shake the feeling that he was still out there, somewhere, waiting for me, always. The air felt heavy with his presence, even at home. I felt like a hunted animal, always looking over my shoulder, always expecting him to appear. A week later, I was back at Pete's pit stop. The cops hadn't found anything new, and the camera didn't catch any more photos. I started to think maybe he'd given up, moved on to someone else, finally, mercifully. A tiny, fragile hope bloomed in my chest. But I was wrong. So wrong. It was a stormy night. Really bad. Rain pounded the roof of the gas station. Thunder rattled the windows hard, shaking the building. The power flickered on and off, making the lights buzz and hum, casting strange shadows. I was in the small back office, trying to fix the coffee machine, my hands busy. When I heard it, a creak. Not outside this time, but inside the main store. My blood froze in my veins, a sudden chill. I grabbed the wrench, my hand tight on it. I crept to the office door, listening hard. Another creak, closer now. It was coming from the front of the store. Near the snack aisle, I thought, just behind the counter. Someone was in the gas station with me. My heart hammered, a frantic drum in my chest. I wanted to call out, to yell, to scream, but my voice was stuck in my throat, a dry lump. I was completely alone in there, with him. I gripped the wrench even tighter. My palms were sweaty and slick. I tiptoed into the main store, moving slowly. The place was dark, really dark. The only light came from the street lamp outside. It cast weird long shadows on the shelves. The air felt heavy and cold, even though the heater was on full blast. A shiver ran down my spine, a cold dread. I heard another creak, closer still, from the register area, right in front of me. My heart was in my throat, pounding so hard. Each step felt like it took forever, like I was walking through thick mud. When I reached the counter, I saw him. He was standing by the front window. His back was to me, staring out into the pouring rain. The hoodie was soaked, clinging to his skinny frame. He didn't move, didn't turn around, but I knew he knew I was there. A chill ran down my spine, colder than the night air. This wasn't just a person anymore. This felt different somehow, like something not quite human, something ancient. "What do you want?" I said. My voice was shaking, but loud enough. It filled the quiet store, echoing in the dark. The words felt weak, like they barely left my mouth. He turned slowly, very slowly, like a creaking door. His face was pale in the dim light, almost glowing. Those eyes, black and empty, locked onto mine. They weren't just dark, they were like holes, sucking in all the light, all the hope. It felt like they were sucking me in too. "Jake," he said, his voice low. It was almost a whisper, barely there. But it wasn't a human whisper, not at all. It sounded like dry leaves scraping on pavement, like something old and brittle, cracking. "I've been watching you for a long time." My stomach churned, a sick feeling rising. I raised the wrench, ready to swing it, my last hope. "Get out," I said, my voice a little stronger now. "Get out, or I swear I'll—" He took a step forward, right at me, his eyes fixed, and I swung the wrench hard, with all my might. It connected with his shoulder, a dull thud. He stumbled back, crashing into a display of chips. Bags exploded, chips scattering everywhere. A loud crack echoed in the store. I didn't wait for anything else. I ran for the front door, fumbling with the lock, my fingers clumsy with terror. Thunder roared outside, shaking the building to its core. I yanked the door open with all my strength and sprinted into the rain, not looking back. My bare feet slipped on the wet asphalt, but I kept going. I didn't look back, not even once. Didn't stop until I reached Max's house, banging on the door until his mom let me in. I was soaking wet and shaking all over, my teeth chattering, my body trembling. Max was there in a second, his eyes wide. "Jake, what happened?" he asked, grabbing my arm. I couldn't speak, just pointed back the way I came. His mom wrapped a blanket around me. The cops came again, of course, after Max called them. They searched the gas station top to bottom. He was gone, just vanished, like a bad dream, like he'd disappeared into the storm itself. They found a strange, dark stain on the floor, right where he fell, near the broken chip bags, but it wasn't blood. It was like oil, but darker, thicker, almost gooey, with a strange, metallic smell. I felt sick thinking about it, my stomach churning. What might have happened if I hadn't swung that wrench, if I hadn't fought back even for a second? They also found something else, a small, old wooden doll, shaped like a person, lying on the counter. It had black buttons for eyes, just like his eyes, I thought, chilling me to the bone. The next few weeks were quiet, too quiet, but I was different now, changed forever. I didn't feel safe anymore, not at the gas station, not anywhere, not even in my own bed. Mom got me to quit that job right away. She said I never had to go back there. The cops kept patrolling for a while, driving by our house, checking the gas station, but I knew he was still out there, somewhere, waiting for me, always. The air felt heavy with his presence, a constant weight. I felt like a hunted animal, always on edge. I started seeing a counselor, this nice lady. She helped me talk about the fear, the nightmares. It helped, a little bit, to say it all out loud. But I'd still wake up some nights, my heart pounding hard, drenched in sweat. Sure, I heard that tap at my window, even though I knew it wasn't there. The gas station stayed empty for a while. Nobody wanted to work there, not after what happened. People in town started whispering about it, about the shadow man at Pete's pit stop. They looked at me funny sometimes, with pity or fear. I tried to forget it all, to push it away, to put it completely behind me like a bad memory. But some things just stick with you, you know? Like a bad smell you can't get rid of, or a song you can't get out of your head. It was a part of me now, the fear, a constant companion, a dark shadow of its own. One afternoon, a few weeks later, I was walking home from school, just like any other day. The sun was bright and warm, birds were singing in the trees. Everything felt normal, finally, for a moment. Then, I saw it. Parked down the street near the old oak tree was a dark car. The windows were tinted black, so I couldn't see inside. But I knew. I just knew it was him. A chill went through me, even in the warm sunlight. It was like a cold hand gripping my heart. I sped up my walking, faster and faster. My eyes glued to the car, watching it. It didn't move an inch, just sat there. It just sat there, watching me. I could feel it. I ran the rest of the way home, burst through the door, heart racing, lungs burning, and locked it behind me, double locked it. I didn't tell Mom about the car. What was the point of it? They never found him before. They wouldn't believe me now. She'd just worry, and I couldn't bear that. I started checking my windows more often, especially at night, before bed. I'd pull back the curtains, just a little, and peer out into the darkness, searching. Sometimes I thought I saw something. A flicker of movement in the shadows. A glint of something dark and tall, just out of reach. I'd tell myself it was just my mind, playing tricks on me, still scared from before, but the feeling never really went away. It was like a tiny bug crawling under my skin, always there, always reminding me of him, always making me feel unsafe. One night, I was trying to sleep, but I couldn't close my eyes, couldn't rest. Every little noise in the house sounded huge. The wind outside sounded like whispers. Whispers of my name, maybe, just for me. I got up from my bed, my heart pounding. Walked to my window and looked out. The backyard was dark and quiet. The old oak tree swayed slowly in the breeze. Nothing was there, just the usual night sounds. I was about to turn away, to go back to bed, when I saw it. A faint glow, pulsing softly, coming from the direction of Pete's pit stop. It was a pale, sickly green light. My heart started to pound hard, a frantic beat. What was that light? I knew the gas station was closed, empty. No one should be out there at all, not at this hour. I pulled on my shoes and a jacket, grabbed my phone, my hand shaking, but determined, and slipped out of the house quietly, into the night. I know it was stupid, really, really stupid of me, but I had to see it, I just had to know. The walk to the gas station felt like forever. Every shadow seemed to reach out for me. The air got colder and colder, even though it was a mild night. A strange, unnatural cold. As I got closer to the gas station, the green light got brighter, pulsing stronger. It was coming from inside the gas station, shining through the big front windows. A beacon. It pulsed, like a slow, eerie heartbeat. I crept up to the building slowly, my steps light, my breath held tight in my chest, a painful ache. I peered through the window, trying to see what was making the light, what was happening. The inside of the store was bathed in that strange green glow, making everything look alien. It made everything look strange and twisted, like a bad dream come to life. And then I saw him, the shadow man. He was standing in the middle of the store, his back to me, just like before, perfectly still. But this time he wasn't looking out the window. He was looking at something on the floor, something that was glowing, with the same green light, a bright, sickly green. I leaned closer, trying to get a better look. My eyes squinted, trying to pierce the glow. It was the wooden doll, the one with the black button eyes. It was floating in the air, slowly, gently, spinning slowly, and that green light was coming from it, right from the doll itself, a source of dark power. The shadow man reached out a hand, slowly, and the doll floated closer to him, like it was alive. He picked it up, holding it gently, almost tenderly, like it was something precious, something sacred. And then, he turned around. His face was different now, not just pale and hollow like before. It was almost glowing with that green light too. And his eyes, those black holes, seemed to swirl and move, like tiny galaxies of darkness, endless and deep. He wasn't smiling this time. His face was blank. He just looked at me, through the window, right at me, right into my soul, with an expression I couldn't understand. It wasn't angry or sad or happy. It was just empty, like no one was home inside, just a void. And then, he raised the doll. He held it up, like he was showing it to me, like it was a gift or a warning. And as he did, the green light pulsed. It pulsed even brighter, blinding me for a second, filling the whole gas station with light, a green inferno. I felt a strange pull, a strong one, like a current, like something was trying to drag me inside. My feet felt heavy, stuck to the ground, rooted. I couldn't move at all, frozen in terror. He took a step towards the window, slowly, still holding the doll up high, its light blinding. The green light got so bright. It hurt my eyes, really bad, making them water. I wanted to scream, to yell, to run, but no sound came out of my mouth. My throat was tight. He pressed his hand against the glass, right where I was standing exactly, perfectly aligned. I could see his pale fingers, glowing green. And then, a crack appeared in the glass. It spread quickly, like a spider web, across the window. The sound was like a sharp whisper, echoing in the night. A sound of breaking, of something tearing. I finally found my voice, a raw, desperate sound. I screamed, a loud, raw sound. It ripped through the quiet air, shattering the silence. And then, I turned and ran. I ran faster than I ever had in my life, not looking back, not caring about the rain, or the cold, or anything else in the world. I just ran, my heart pounding like a drum. I didn't stop until I was back in my room, safe behind locked doors, finally, breathing hard. I was shaking all over, my body trembling. I couldn't believe what I had seen. It was impossible. The next morning, I told Mom everything. I told her about the green light, the floating doll, the cracked window, all of it. She looked at me like I was sick, like I had a fever or something, really sick. She called the police again, her voice worried, but they just shook their heads slowly. They said the window was fine, no cracks, nothing. They said there was no green light, no doll, no nothing, just an empty gas station. They thought I was making it up, or that the stress was getting to me, making me see things. Even Max looked at me funny when I told him. He tried to be nice, he really did. But I could tell he didn't believe me, not fully. It made me feel so alone, so isolated. But I knew what I saw. I knew it was real, more real than anything. And I knew that shadow man. He wasn't just a person anymore. He was something else entirely, something old and dark, something from another place, something that didn't belong in our world. I stopped going near the gas station. I took a different route to school, a much longer one, even if it meant walking an extra 10 minutes. I tried to erase it from my mind, to push it all away, forever, into a dark corner. But the nightmares kept coming back. Every single night, they haunted me. I'd see the green light, the swirling black eyes, the floating doll, spinning slowly, always there. I'd wake up in a cold sweat, my heart racing, pounding in my ears, screaming. One day, a few weeks later, Mom told me they were tearing down Pete's pit stop. Someone bought the land, she said, for a new store. A part of me felt relieved, a huge weight lifted. Maybe if the gas station was gone, the shadow man would be gone too, finally. Maybe then, I could finally forget. I watched from a distance, hidden behind a fence, as the bulldozers tore down the old building. It was strange seeing it, turn into a pile of rubble and dust. It felt like an end to everything, a closing chapter. But even as the last wall fell down, I still felt it, that prickly feeling on the back of my neck, that sense of being watched, always there. I looked around, quickly, nervously, but there was no one there, just the empty field, just the dust from the demolition, blowing across the empty field, swirling. I'm okay now, mostly. I still play basketball with my friends, still hang out with Max, like before, trying to be normal. But I'm careful now, always careful. I check the locks on the doors, every night. Keep the wrench close by my bed, just in case, and every night, before I go to sleep. I look out my window, just to make sure the shadow's gone, because even though Pete's pit stop is gone, I know some shadows never really leave. They just find a new place to wait, and sometimes, late at night, when the wind blows just right outside, I still hear it, a soft tap, not on my window now, not on the gas station glass, but deep inside my head, a chilling echo, a reminder that some things, once seen, can never be unseen, and I know, deep down in my gut, that the shadow is still out there, waiting for someone, always waiting, maybe for me, maybe for someone else, but it's there. I know it. I feel it. And I'll never forget the cold, empty feeling of those black eyes staring at me, or the eerie green light of that floating doll. It changed me, you know. It made me see the world differently now. Like there's a thin veil between what's real and what's not. And sometimes that veil gets pulled back, just for a second, a terrifying glimpse, and you see things you can't explain, things that make your blood run cold, things that stick with you forever. So, yeah, that's my story. It's not a fun one to tell, not at all, but it's what happened to me, and I swear, every single word of it is true. I just hope you never have to see what I saw, because once you do, you're never really the same again. The world gets a little darker, the shadows get a little longer, and you always feel like someone's watching, even when you're all alone in your room. My name is Carl Grange. I've spent most of my grown-up life trying to forget one room. It was in the house where I grew up, a place I wished I could erase from my mind. That house was old, really old, with dark wood floors that always groaned under your weight. It smelled like dust and old books, a heavy smell that clung to everything, even my clothes. My parents were quiet people, the kind who didn't say much at all. They just lived their lives, day by day, in a kind of hushed silence. It was like they were always walking on eggshells. I was an only child, so I spent a lot of time by myself. I played with toy cars on the rug, making engine noises with my mouth, trying to fill the quiet. I read comic books, losing myself in the colorful pictures and brave heroes, dreaming of other worlds. But even then, even when I was small, there was always this one thing, this one room. It was like a dark spot on a sunny day, a shadow that never moved. It was on the second floor, way up those creaky stairs that sounded like old bones. You went up, and then you walked down a narrow hallway, barely wide enough for two people. The air got colder with every step you took, like walking into a freezer, even in the summer. It was a strange, biting cold that made me shiver. It was at the very end of that long, dim hall where the light from the windows barely reached. The door was always shut tight, a heavy, dark wood door that looked like it weighed a ton. It had no handle, just a small, old-fashioned keyhole, and it was always locked. Always. My parents never talked about it. Not ever. It was like it wasn't even there, a part of the house everyone just pretended didn't exist, a big secret hanging in the air. It was the elephant in the room, but it was a room itself. I remember trying to draw our house once, as a kid. I drew all the rooms. But when I got to the second floor, my crayon just stopped. I couldn't bring myself to draw that room. It was like my hand knew it wasn't supposed to be there. If I asked about it, my mom would just give me a small, tight smile. Her lips would press together, a thin line. She'd say, "It's just a storage room, sweetheart," in a voice that was too soft, too careful, like she was afraid of something. She said it very quietly, like it was a secret she was trying to keep, not just from me, but from herself, from the house. But I knew, even when I was a little boy, that it wasn't just storage. You could feel it. You could feel it in the way the air changed, the way the light seemed to shrink around it. It was a feeling that stayed with me, a cold knot in my stomach. The air in the hallway, near that door, always felt different. It was colder there, like someone left a window open, even when they hadn't. A chill that went right through your clothes and into your bones. It wasn't just cold air. It was a coldness that felt alive, like a breath on your neck. It made the hairs on my arms stand straight up. The wood of the door itself seemed to groan sometimes, a low, deep sound, like a living thing in pain. It sounded like something big was moving behind it, shifting in the dark, heavy and slow, like a giant sigh. Sometimes it sounded like chains dragging or something heavy scraping against the floorboards inside. It was never a normal house sound. Sometimes I heard whispers. Not clear words, just a soft, shaky sound. Like language, but with no real shape. Just a jumble of breathy noises, like dry leaves rustling in a lonely wind. They weren't loud, but they were always there, just at the edge of hearing, like secrets being told right next to my ear. It made the hairs on my arms stand up, prickly and cold like tiny needles. I'd run past it fast, my heart thumping like a scared rabbit, trying to outrun the sounds. I never wanted to look at it too long, afraid of what I might see or what might look back. I just wanted to get away from that door, from that feeling. It was always there, a dark spot in the back of my mind, a shadow that never left me, even in my dreams. It was the one thing in the house that truly scared me, more than any monster under the bed, because this monster was real and it was locked away. I tried to play in other parts of the house, but the thought of that room always found me. It was like a magnet, pulling my thoughts even when I was far away, even when I was outside. When I was 7, I had a bad dream about it. I dreamed the door opened and something dark, shapeless, reached out for me with long, thin fingers. I woke up screaming, my sheets tangled around me. My mom came in, sleepy-eyed, and held me tight. Her arms felt safe, but I could feel her trembling a little. I tried to tell her about the dream, about the dark room, but she just shushed me gently. "It's just a dream, Carl," she whispered, stroking my hair. But her voice was tight, and she didn't look at the door. She looked away, towards the window, like she was scared too. That made it worse. If Mom was scared, then it had to be real. It wasn't just my imagination playing tricks. It was something real that even grown-ups were afraid of. I remember one time I was playing hide-and-seek with myself. I was little, maybe 8, full of energy. I ran up the stairs, looking for a good spot, a new place to hide. My eyes fell on that door. It was closed, of course, as always. But for a second, just a split second, I thought I saw the doorknob turn, just a tiny bit, just a tiny twitch, like someone on the other side was trying to open it, testing the lock. My breath caught in my throat. I ran down the stairs so fast I almost fell, my legs pumping. I didn't play hide-and-seek upstairs anymore. I stuck to my room, or the living room, places where I felt safe, where that cold feeling couldn't reach me. The room was always there, a silent watcher, a dark eye. It was like the house had a secret heart, and that room was it. A dark, beating heart, hidden and dangerous. My parents never had friends over. Never. Our house was always quiet, just the 3 of us, living our hushed lives, like we were in our own little world. I wondered if it was because of the room. Did they know something? Were they trying to keep people away from it, to protect them from what was inside? I never saw them go near it, never saw them even glance at it. It was like they had built a wall in their minds, pretending it wasn't there. The older I got, the more I tried to push it out of my mind. It was just an old, locked room. Nothing more, I told myself. Just a silly childhood fear. But the cold spot, the groans, the whispers, they were real. I wasn't making them up. They were etched into my memory, a constant reminder. When I turned 14, I finally got out. It felt like breaking free from a cage, a dark, dusty cage that had held me for too long. I went to a boarding school far away from that house. It was a huge relief, like a heavy weight had been lifted from my shoulders, a burden I hadn't even known I was carrying. I could breathe easier there, in the fresh air. I loved the noise of other kids, the bright lights, the constant chatter. It was so different from the quiet, dark house. It was freedom. Then I went to college, even further away, to a big city. After that, I got a job in another country, across the ocean. I just kept moving, putting distance between me and that place. I never looked back at that house, not once. I tried to forget everything about it, every creak, every shadow, every cold spot, every whispered sound. I tried to forget the cold spot, the groaning wood, the whispers. I built a whole new life, a life without that room, a life where I felt safe and free, truly free. I made new friends, learned a new language, saw new places, ate new foods. I filled my life with so many good things, hoping they would push out the bad memories, erase them completely. For a long time, it worked. The house became a blurry picture in my mind, the room just a vague, distant fear, like a bad dream from long ago. I would sometimes wake up in a cold sweat, thinking I heard a whisper, but then I'd remember where I was, safe in my own bed, and the fear would fade. Years passed, a lot of years. I got older, my hair started to thin a little, and I had a few gray hairs at my temples. I thought I was safe, finally free. I really believed it. I thought I had escaped. That the past was just that, the past, a closed book I never had to open again. I had a good job, a nice apartment, friends. I was happy. Or at least I thought I was. I never really thought about the house anymore. Until my parents died. It was sudden, a car crash on Route 12. My whole world just stopped, like a record player unplugged in the middle of a song. The phone call came in the middle of the night. My aunt, crying, telling me the news, her voice broken. I felt numb, like I was floating outside my own body, watching from far away. That road is outside of a town called Burtmanton. It's a winding road, all twists and turns, with lots of old, tall trees that lean over the asphalt, making it dark even in the daytime, and the fog there, it never seems to lift. It's always cloudy and thick, like a heavy blanket hanging in the air, hiding everything, making it hard to see. I had to come back for the funeral. The flight felt long, endless, every minute dragging. Every mile brought me closer to the one place I never wanted to see again, the place of my nightmares. When I came back for the funeral, I stood outside the house I used to call home, but it didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like a stranger, a cold, dark stranger. My stomach twisted into a knot, a cold, hard ball of dread. Everything inside me just screamed no. I didn't want to go back inside, not ever, not for a second, but I had no choice. My parents were gone, and the house was mine now. I had to take care of everything, settle their things, deal with their lives, their memories. The house was still under my name, a heavy weight I couldn't shake off. It felt like a chain around my ankle, pulling me back to the past, to the thing I had tried so hard to escape. I arrived with just one suitcase and a month's worth of clothes. I told myself I'd be quick, get in, get out, sell the place as fast as I could, burn it down if I had to. I'd hire someone to clean it, someone to pack everything up, someone to do everything so I wouldn't have to touch anything. I wouldn't spend more time in there than I had to. That was the plan. The first night back was really quiet, too quiet. No pipes creaking like they used to, no old trees scraping against the windows. Just silence, a deep, unsettling quiet. A deep, heavy silence that pressed down on me, making my ears ring, making my head feel fuzzy like cotton. It felt like the house was holding its breath, waiting for something. I walked through the house, each step echoing in the emptiness, the sound bouncing off the walls. It felt empty, but not in a good way, not like a peaceful emptiness, like it was waiting for something, or someone. My skin crawled with a feeling I couldn't name, a prickle of dread that started at my neck and spread down my back. I tried to sleep, but every little sound made me jump. A floorboard settling, a branch tapping the glass, the wind sighing outside, sounding like a moan. The house felt different now. It felt awake, like it was watching me, waiting for me to make a mistake, to step into its trap, to finally give in. I kept the lights on, even in the living room, even when I went to bed, every lamp blazing. I didn't want any dark corners, no hiding places for shadows. I tossed and turned for hours. My mind kept replaying memories of my parents, their quiet faces, their hushed voices, their secrets. Then, my thoughts would drift to the room. Was it still there? Still locked? I tried to push the thought away, but it clung to me, a cold spider in my brain. I kept telling myself it was just a room, just an old empty room, but the cold feeling in the pit of my stomach told me otherwise. Around 3 a.m, my throat was dry, like sandpaper. I got up to get a glass of water, my bare feet cold on the wooden floor, each step a creak. I walked past the hallway, the one to the second floor, my eyes trying to avoid it, trying to look straight ahead. But I couldn't. My eyes were drawn to it, and then I saw it. The door, the one at the end, it was open, just a little bit. A tiny crack. Not much, but enough. Enough to see a sliver of blackness inside, like a hungry eye staring out, watching me. My breath caught in my throat. I froze. My heart started thudding. It beat so hard, I could feel it against my ribs, like a drum pounding a frantic rhythm. That door. It had been locked my whole childhood. My mom always kept the key hidden, a secret she guarded fiercely, like a dragon with its gold, never letting it out of her sight. I never saw it, never knew where it was. But now, it was open. Just a crack. Like it had been waiting for me, all these years, waiting for me to come back, to finally see what was inside, to finish what it started. I stood there for a full minute, maybe longer, just staring at that dark sliver, that thin line of black, that promise of something terrible. My legs felt like stone. I couldn't move. A cold sweat broke out on my forehead, trickling down my temples. Every hair on my body stood on end, a prickle of pure fear. My mind screamed at me to run, to turn and flee, but I didn't go in, not that night. I backed away slowly, my eyes still on the door, afraid to turn my back on it, afraid it would open wider if I did, afraid it would reach for me. I went back to my bedroom, pulling the covers up to my chin, trying to hide from the sight, from the feeling. I didn't sleep much that night. Every shadow seemed to move, every creak sounded like footsteps. The next few days were strange, really strange. Small things started to happen, things that made me question myself, made me wonder if I was losing my mind. Slowly, piece by piece. A cup on the kitchen table. I'd leave it one way, perfectly centered, exactly where I put it, come back, and it had moved. Just half an inch, but enough to notice, enough to make my stomach clench. A book on the coffee table. I'd close it, put it neatly on the stack. Later, it would be open to a random page or even upside down, like someone had been reading it. A clock in the living room. I'd set it, making sure it was right down to the second. Later, it would be wrong, reset itself to some random time, hours off, like time itself was broken. It was tiny stuff, little things that didn't make sense, little nudges, little signs, but it added up. It made my skin crawl, a cold dread spreading through me, like ice water in my veins. I tried to tell myself I was tired, stressed, that I was just imagining things or forgetting where I put things, that I was just making mistakes. But deep down, I knew. Then the noises started. From the second floor, from that end of the hallway, right near that door. Low thumps, like something heavy was being dragged across the floor, slow and steady. Dragging sounds, scraping, like nails on wood, long and slow, a terrible sound that grated on my nerves, making my teeth ache. It sounded like something was trying to get free, or maybe trying to get in. And then, something else. Something like shallow breathing. A soft, raspy sound, like someone was struggling for air, right outside my bedroom door, right there in the hall. It was too close to be the wind. Too steady. Too alive. It sounded like someone was right there, breathing, just on the other side of the wall, or even closer, right behind me. I would sit up in bed, my heart racing, listening to it, holding my breath. It would stop if I held my breath, then start again as soon as I exhaled, like it was playing a game. I tried to tell myself it was the old house, just settling, making its usual noises, the pipes, the old wood. But I knew better. This wasn't settling. This was different. This was something new. Something that had woken up. Something that knew I was here, alone in the house. Its new toy. I started to feel watched all the time. Like eyes were on me, even when I was alone in a room, even when I was in the shower, even when I closed my eyes. I'd turn quickly, expecting to see something, a shadow, a shape. But there was never anything there, just empty air, but the feeling stayed, a constant pressure. The air in the house felt heavier, colder, especially near the stairs, near that hallway. It felt like a weight on my chest, making it hard to breathe, like I was underwater. I couldn't ignore it anymore. The sounds, the feeling. They were getting louder, stronger, impossible to push away, impossible to pretend weren't real. They were all around me. My sleep got worse and worse. Every night was a battle against the sounds, against the feeling of being watched. I was exhausted, but I couldn't rest, my mind racing. I started to see things just out of the corner of my eye. A flicker of movement, a shadow that wasn't there. My nerves were shot. One night I decided to do something. I got my phone, my hand shaking a little as I held it, my fingers fumbling, almost dropping it. I started recording audio while I slept. I wanted to catch whatever it was, to prove I wasn't going crazy, to have proof for myself, to show someone, anyone. I put it on my nightstand, hit record, and then I tried to close my eyes. Sleep wouldn't come easy, but at least I had a plan, a way to fight back. The next morning, I woke up suddenly, with a jolt that shook my whole body, my heart pounding in my chest, a frantic drum against my ribs. I felt tired, like I hadn't slept at all, like I'd been running all night. My head ached, my eyes burned, like I hadn't blinked in days. I grabbed my phone, my hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped it. I played the recording. What I heard was enough to make me sick. I ran to the bathroom, stumbling over my own feet, barely making it to the toilet. I threw up everything I had eaten until my stomach was empty and aching, burning. It was whispers, dozens of voices, all layered over each other, a tangled mess of sound, like a choir of ghosts, speaking in a language I almost knew. Like a crowd of people all talking at once, but in whispers. Sometimes they were laughing, a soft, chilling sound that made my blood run cold, a sound that wasn't happy at all but full of dark joy. Sometimes they were weeping, a low, sad cry that broke my heart, full of endless sorrow. And always, always, it ended in a name. My name. Carl. It was a chorus of voices, all saying my name, over and over, like a chant, like a spell. It wasn't just a sound. It felt like they were calling to me, pulling me in, drawing me closer, like a siren's song. Like they knew me, like they wanted me, like they were waiting for me to join them. I deleted the recording right away. I couldn't listen to it again, not even for a second. The sound was burned into my mind, stuck there, playing on repeat. I felt cold all over, even though it was warm in the house, even though the sun was shining outside. A deep, internal chill that went to my bones, a cold that came from inside me, from my very soul. I tried to pretend it didn't happen, that I hadn't heard it, that I was just tired, hallucinating, losing my mind. But the sound of my name, whispered by so many voices, stayed in my head. It echoed there, like a song I couldn't stop hearing, a terrible melody that played on repeat, never fading, never stopping. I started to feel tired all the time, My eyes felt heavy, my limbs felt like lead, like I was walking through thick mud, every step a struggle. I didn't want to eat. I didn't want to do anything. Just sit there, in the quiet, and listen. Even when there was no sound, I felt like I was listening, waiting for the whispers to start again, waiting for the call. I felt like I was losing my mind, slowly, piece by piece. My thoughts were getting fuzzy, mixed up, like a tangled ball of yarn, impossible to untangle. I started talking to myself, just quiet mumbles, trying to make sense of things, trying to convince myself it wasn't real, that I was just dreaming. But it was real. The house knew, the room knew, and whatever was in there, it knew me. It had always known me. I stopped going to the kitchen for water at night. I just stayed in my room, huddled under the covers, trying to disappear, trying to make myself small. The air in my room felt heavy now, too. The cold was spreading, seeping under the door, through the walls, filling every corner of the house. It was like the house was breathing, and its breath was ice. I could feel it on my skin, even through my clothes. I started to feel a strange pull, a gentle tugging, like a string tied to my chest. It was always there, pulling me towards the hallway. I fought it. I really did. I would dig my heels in, try to walk the other way. But it was like trying to walk against a strong wind. One night, I woke up suddenly, with a jolt that shook my whole body like an electric shock. My eyes snapped open in the dark room, but I felt something, a pull, a strong, strange pull, like an invisible string tugging at my chest, pulling me out of bed, pulling me to my feet. It was stronger than anything I'd felt before, impossible to fight. I looked towards my bedroom door. It was open, not just a crack, not a sliver, all the way open, like it had been waiting for me. And I saw it, the door to that room, wide open, like a dark mouth, waiting to swallow me whole, to pull me into its blackness. I don't remember getting out of bed. I don't remember walking. My feet just moved on their own, one step after another, like I was a puppet, pulled by invisible strings. My mind was screaming, telling me to stop, to run, to fight. But my body wouldn't listen. It just kept moving, drawn by that terrible pull. But I found myself there, at the threshold, right in front of that open door. My body felt like it wasn't mine, just a vessel moving on its own, a passenger in my own skin. The air inside was thick, like a heavy blanket pressing down on me, making it hard to breathe, making my lungs ache. It smelled metallic, like old pennies, or blood, and it was cold. Not just regular cold, like a winter day. It was funeral parlor cold, a deep, bone-chilling cold that stole my breath, made my teeth chatter, made my whole body tremble. It felt like death, right there, inside that room. I stood there, frozen, my heart beating so fast it felt like it would burst, like a trapped bird trying to escape its cage. I pulled out my phone, my hand shaking so hard I could barely hold it steady. My fingers fumbled for the flashlight button, my thumb slipping. I shined the flashlight into the space. I saw nothing, just a bare room, empty. Dust covered everything, a thick layer over the floor and walls like a gray carpet, untouched for years. Thick cobwebs hung from the ceiling, like old, gray lace, swaying slightly in the cold air. The light from my phone barely cut through the gloom, swallowed by the darkness. It was a small room, maybe 10 by 10 feet. No windows, just 4 walls, bare and cold. There was only one thing on the wall, nailed right into the plaster on the far side. A small mirror. It was old and dusty, its surface cloudy, like it hadn't been cleaned in 100 years, reflecting nothing but gray. I took a deep breath, but it felt like I was breathing in ice. My lungs burned, my throat ached, my chest felt tight. I took one step, then another. I stepped inside. The moment my foot crossed the line, it happened. The door slammed shut behind me, with a loud bang that echoed in the small room, deafening in the silence, making my ears ring. It sounded like a gunshot in the silence, making me jump, my body seizing up. I spun around, my heart leaped into my throat, a sudden, sharp pain. I was trapped. I tried the doorknob. It wouldn't turn. It was cold under my hand, like frozen metal. I pushed. I pulled. Nothing. It was locked again, tighter than ever, like it had never been open. Panic surged through me, hot and cold at the same time, a wave of pure terror. I was in the room I had avoided my whole life, the room that had haunted my dreams. It was a boy. He looked about 14 years old, the same age I was when I left this house, when I ran away, when I thought I was free. He was wearing the same ratty blue hoodie I used to wear, the one I loved when I was a kid, faded and torn, with a hole in the elbow. It was my hoodie. He had the same crooked nose, the one I got when I fell off my bike, a small bump on the bridge. He had my eyes, my exact eyes, the same color, the same shape, looking back at me, staring right into my soul. But they were different. They were filled with something ancient, something very, very old, like dust from 1,000 years, like the eyes of something that had seen too much darkness, and something that hated me, a deep, burning hate that chilled me to the bone, a pure, cold evil. He didn't move like a person, not like a normal person. He twitched, like a broken toy, jerky and unnatural, his limbs moving in strange, impossible ways. He glitched, like he was made of bad tape footage, skipping frames, appearing and disappearing for tiny moments, flickering in and out of sight. His mouth opened, a dark hole, but no sound came out. His voice came from behind me, from the air all around me, swirling around my head, whispering into my ears, into my very thoughts. "Why did you leave me?" It was a whisper, but it filled the whole room, loud and clear, echoing inside my head. It was my voice, but not my voice. It was wrong, twisted and cold, like a voice from a nightmare, a voice that belonged to something else. I screamed, a raw, loud scream that tore from my throat, ripping through the silence, desperate and wild. I didn't think, I just reacted. My body moved on its own, fueled by pure animal terror. I kicked the door, hard, again and again, with all my strength, fueled by pure terror, by the need to escape. My foot hurt, a sharp pain shooting up my leg, but I didn't care. I didn't stop. I kicked it until it opened, splintering wood, tearing the frame, breaking it apart. It flew open with a loud creak, like a dying groan, a final, painful sound of protest. I stumbled out, falling to my knees in the hallway, gasping for air, my lungs burning. I didn't look back. I just ran. I ran down the hallway, down the stairs, my heart hammering against my ribs, a frantic drum, a desperate plea. I didn't stop until I was in the living room, gasping for air, leaning against the cold wall, my body shaking all over. I was breathing hard. My chest hurt, a burning pain in my lungs. When I finally turned back, I looked up the stairs, my eyes wide, scanning the darkness, half expecting to see him there. The room was empty. The door was open just like before. And the mirror, it was cracked. A big crack right down the middle, like a spiderweb spreading across its dusty surface, a broken eye. That was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks since I stepped into that room. 2 weeks since I saw that boy, that twisted reflection of myself, that thing that wore my face. I haven't left the house, not because I don't want to. I want to. More than anything in the world, I want to run away, to escape this nightmare. But I can't. Every door I try to open, it leads back to that room now. It's like a cruel joke, a never-ending nightmare, a loop I can't break. I tried the front door, the one that leads outside, to the street, to freedom, to the world beyond this house. I opened it, my hand shaking with hope, my heart pounding. And I'm not outside. I'm in the hallway with the mirror, the cracked mirror, staring back at me, mocking me, reflecting my terror. I tried the kitchen door, the one that goes to the backyard, to the garden, to the open air, to a chance at escape. I opened it, my heart sinking, my hope draining away, and it's the same. I'm back in that hallway, facing that room, that dark mouth. It's always there, always waiting, always pulling me back. I even tried to jump out the window from the second floor, desperate to escape, desperate to end it all. I thought, this is it. I'll be free. I'll break away from this nightmare. I climbed onto the sill, my hands gripping the frame, my knuckles white, took a deep breath and pushed myself off, falling into the night. The wind rushed past my ears. I closed my eyes, ready for the fall, ready for anything but that room. But I landed inside that damned room again, safe and sound, as if I'd never left. as if I'd just stepped through a normal doorway. It was like a trick, a cruel joke. The dust on the floor barely stirred. The mirror, cracked, still watched. I was back. Always back. No matter what I do, no matter where I try to go, I'm always back there. Always. Trapped. And the boy. He's always there now. He doesn't speak anymore. He just smiles. A wide, slow smile. It never leaves his face. It's not a happy smile. It's a cold smile. A smile that knows something. Something bad. Something terrible. Something that has won. He just watches me, from the corner of my eye. Sometimes he's in the hallway, standing perfectly still, just a shadow. Sometimes he's in the kitchen, leaning against the counter, watching me eat. Sometimes I see him in the window, staring in, his eyes fixed on me, unblinking, even in the dead of night. But mostly, he's in that room, waiting. I hear him sometimes, a soft rustle, a faint breath, like he's right behind me. He's always near, always present. I've stopped eating, stopped sleeping. I just wander the house, a ghost in my own home, waiting for the end. My mind feels like a broken puzzle. Pieces are missing. Pieces are wrong. I can't think clearly anymore. I try to remember things, simple things, like what I had for breakfast yesterday, but my mind is blank. I figured it out. I think. The room wasn't just a place. It was a trap, a box, for something that needed a name, a mind, a memory, to hold on to anchor to. When I was 14, I knocked on that door once. Just once. I was curious, and a little scared, but mostly curious. I put my ear to the wood, holding my breath, listening for any sound, any sign of life. And something on the other side whispered back. It wasn't words I understood, not really, but it was a feeling, a cold, hungry feeling, a promise of something terrible. I don't remember what it said, not exactly, but I remember the feeling. It was like a hook, pulling at me, trying to reel me in. I pushed it away, scared of the sound, scared of the feeling. I forgot it, buried it deep down, under layers of new memories, new experiences. And it waited, all these years. It waited for me to come back, to open the door. It waited for me to be weak, to be alone, to be broken. It waited for the right time, for me to be vulnerable. Now, it has my name, and my face, my own face, but twisted. Wrong. It's taking everything. My thoughts, my feelings, my very self. It's draining me, slowly, like a leaky faucet. Tonight will be my last night. I can feel it in my bones, a cold certainty, like a death sentence. I can feel my own reflection fading. When I look in a mirror, I see him more than me. His eyes are brighter, shining with a strange, cold light. Mine are dimmer, like dying embers, almost gone. His smile is wider, stretching his face into a terrible grin, a mocking smile. Mine is gone, replaced by a blank stare, an empty mask. I avoid mirrors now, all of them. But even in tiny glass shards on the floor, or the reflection in a dark window, or a spoon, I see him. He's getting stronger, and I'm getting weaker. He's taking over, slowly, piece by piece. He's becoming me, and I'm becoming nothing, just an empty shell, a memory that will soon be gone. My hands feel strange as I write this, like they aren't quite mine. They twitch sometimes, just like his, a little jerky movement. I hear the whispers now, even when my phone isn't recording. They are inside my head, all calling my name, a constant buzzing sound. Carl. It's a chorus now, a constant hum, a symphony of dread. They are welcoming him into my skin, into my life. I can feel him pushing from the inside, like a seed growing, splitting me open, tearing me apart from the inside. He wants to be real. He wants to live. And I am the key. I am the door. The house is quiet again, but it's a different quiet. It's the quiet of something waiting, the quiet of victory. The boy is in the hallway. I can feel him. He's closer now, right outside my door. He's not smiling. He's just watching the door to my room, waiting for me to finish, waiting for me to give up. I can hear his shallow breathing just outside. It's my breathing, but it's not. It's his. My vision is blurring. My head feels heavy. It's almost over. If you find this note, please, burn the house, burn it all down, burn the room. Make sure it's gone, every last splinter, every last shadow, or it'll take you too. I took the night shift because I really needed the money. That's how these kinds of stories always start, right? It sounds like I was desperate, but I wasn't, not really. I just wanted to be alone. My old life had gotten too loud, too crowded. My head felt buzzy all the time, full of other people's words and worries. I needed a place where the world couldn't reach me, where I could just be quiet. The night shift felt like a hiding spot. It felt like a big, dark cave where I could finally breathe. No one bothered you at night. The world just slept, and I could too, in a way. I liked the dark. I liked the quiet. My mind always felt clearer when the world was asleep. It was like a big, soft blanket of silence wrapped around everything. Just for me. My job was security at a big place called Tincentain Cold Storage. It was a huge warehouse, tucked away between tall pine trees, way off Highway 19 in Vermont. You couldn't even see it from the road. It was just this giant gray box sitting in the middle of nowhere, the kind of place you drive by 100 times and never really notice. But at night, it felt like the only place left in the world. The air around it always smelled like pine needles and cold, clean air. It was a good smell, a peaceful smell. It made me feel like I was far away from everything. They kept all sorts of important things inside those giant humming refrigerators, medicines, fancy medical stuff, and who knows what else, things that needed to stay super cold all the time. My job was pretty easy. I just walked around the outside every hour. I watched the cameras on a screen, and I wrote down what I saw in a logbook. That was it. For the first 3 months, it was perfect. It was boring, but that was good. Nothing ever happened. The nights just melted into each other, quiet and calm. I'd bring my thermos of coffee, a book, and sometimes even a crossword puzzle. The hours just drifted by. I felt safe there, in the quiet, empty building. It was my own little world. I remember one night, a big snowstorm hit. The wind howled outside, shaking the old building. But inside, it was just me and the hum of the freezers, cozy and safe. The snow piled up against the windows, making the world outside disappear. It was just me, the warm office, and the steady, low drone of the machines. I felt truly hidden. I thought about how lucky I was. No bosses looking over my shoulder, no noisy co-workers, just the silent, cold air and the steady rhythm of my patrols. It was exactly what I wanted. I even started to feel like the building was a friend. A big, old, quiet friend that kept all my secrets safe. It felt like nothing bad could ever happen there. It was my sanctuary, my escape. I used to think about staying there forever, just me and the cold. It sounds crazy now, but I really did. Then, things changed. It didn't happen all at once. It was slow, like a chill creeping into a warm room. Like a shadow stretching out longer than it should, just at the edge of your sight. It started with a sound. It wasn't loud like a big bang or someone screaming. It was just a hum, a soft hum. It was so faint at first, I thought it was just my imagination, like the buzzing in your ears when it's really quiet. I almost didn't even notice it. It sounded almost like a song. It came from Unit 3. That was the oldest cold room, way at the end of a long hallway. Now, I knew these giant freezers made noise. They had compressors and thermostats and big fans. They always hummed, a low, steady drone that you got used to. It was part of the background noise, like breathing. But this hum was different. It wasn't the sound of machines. It sounded almost like a person, like someone humming a little tune to themselves, very softly. It was a tune I felt like I should know, but I just couldn't place it. It was like a memory just out of reach, a song from a dream. It buzzed in my head, just out of focus. I tried to shake it off. Maybe I was just tired. Night shifts can mess with your head. I told myself it was nothing. I wrote it down in my logbook. Odd hum from Unit 3. Faint. It felt silly to write, but I always wrote everything down. It was my job to be exact. Then I went to check Unit 3. My flashlight beam cut through the dim light of the hallway. The air grew colder as I got closer, a sharp, biting cold that made my nose tingle. It was empty. The lights flickered when I opened the door, but that happened sometimes. The old wiring, I figured. Just the building being old. The cold air hit me hard, like a solid wall. It smelled like clean, sharp ice, like inside a giant freezer. There was water on the inside glass, like condensation but nothing else. Just empty shelves, stretching back into the darkness. I closed the door and went back to my office. I watched the cameras. Nothing moved. The hum stopped as soon as I left the unit. It was like it knew I was gone, or maybe it just stopped on its own. I tried to tell myself it was just the old building, the pipes or something, but a little part of me felt funny. A tiny knot of worry started to form in my stomach. It wasn't enough to scare me, not yet, just enough to make me wonder. I kept thinking about that tune. Why did it feel so familiar? I hummed it to myself, trying to figure it out, but it just slipped away, like smoke. The next night the hum came back. It was louder this time. It wasn't just a soft whisper anymore. It was like someone was right there, humming right next to the door. It was clearer now, too. I could almost make out the notes. It was a child's tune, simple and sweet, but it felt wrong. It felt like it shouldn't be there. It was too perfect, too clear for a building noise. It was like a little kid was standing there, just outside the door, humming to themselves. A ghost of a melody. I felt a shiver go down my back. My skin prickled, like pins and needles. I tried to ignore it, but it kept going. It was like it wanted me to notice it. It was like it was calling to me. A soft, insistent call that made my teeth ache. I couldn't focus on my book anymore. My eyes kept drifting to the hallway, to the dark opening of the corridor. I pulled out my phone. I wanted to record the sound, maybe play it for someone later, prove I wasn't just hearing things. Maybe my relief worker would know what that tune was. My hands felt a little shaky as I held my phone up, pointing it toward the hallway. I pressed record. The little red light blinked, showing it was working. I waited a minute, listening to the hum fill the quiet office. It was so clear now, almost right beside me. Then I stopped the recording and played it back. But when I played it back, all I heard was static, just a fuzzy, crackling noise, like an old radio trying to find a station, all hiss and pop. Nothing else. That was weird. My phone was new. It never did that. I tried again. Same thing. Just static. My brow furrowed, a cold feeling starting to spread through me. Then I saw something even stranger. My phone's clock was stuck. It said 2:08 a.m. It had been stuck like that for a few minutes. I looked at the big clock on the wall in the office. It was 2:15 a.m. 7 minutes had just vanished, just gone, like they never happened. I looked back at my phone. Still 2:08 a.m. My heart started to beat faster. This wasn't normal. Nothing about this was normal. My breath hitched in my throat. I felt a cold dread spread through my chest. This wasn't just the building. This was something else, something impossible. I tried to tell myself it was a glitch, a bad signal. But the hum was still there, clear as day, right outside the office door, mocking me. Then I looked at the camera feed, the screen that showed all the hallways, and I saw myself, standing right outside Unit 3. But I was in the office. My stomach dropped. It felt like I'd just fallen from a great height, a sudden, sickening plunge. I froze. My own face stared back at me from the screen. My doppelganger, my twin, just stood there. He was facing the camera. He didn't move. He just stood still. His eyes were dark, like deep holes, empty and black. He looked exactly like me, but wrong. His clothes were the same. His hair was the same. But there was something in his posture, something in his eyes, that wasn't me. It was cold. It was dead. And then, just before the screen went black, he smiled. A wide, slow smile. It stretched his mouth too far, like a mask, too big for his face. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was cold. It made my skin crawl. It felt like a promise of something terrible. something that would stay with me forever. I slammed the monitor off with my hand. My palm stung, but I didn't care. I pushed my chair back and stumbled away from the desk. My legs felt weak, like rubber. I almost fell. The air in the office suddenly felt much colder. I could see my breath in front of my face. It was like the cold from Unit 3 had followed me. It was like that thing, that me, had brought the cold with it, right into my safe office. I didn't go back to Unit 3 that night. I just sat there, shaking. My whole body trembled. I wrapped my arms around myself, trying to get warm. I kept my eyes glued to the dark monitor. I was scared to look away, scared to look at the hallway, scared to look anywhere. I watched the clock tick. Every minute felt like an hour. My eyes darted around the room, expecting to see something, anything. My eyes hurt from staring. I just wanted the sun to come up. I didn't even go to the bathroom. I just sat there, frozen, like a statue. The rest of the night was the longest night of my life. I didn't hear the hum again, but the silence was even worse. The silence felt like it was waiting, like it was watching me. Every creak of the building, every distant car, made me jump. My nerves were shot. I kept seeing that smile in my head, that cold, stretched smile. It was burned into my mind. I couldn't blink it away. It was all I could see. When my relief showed up, I almost ran out the door. He looked at me funny, like he could see how pale I was. "Rough night?" he asked, his voice cheerful. He didn't know. He couldn't know. I just mumbled something about being tired. I didn't tell him anything. He would have thought I was crazy. He wouldn't have believed me. I barely believed it myself. I just wanted to get home, to my own bed, to the sunlight, to pretend it never happened. But I knew it had. It was too real. I drove home like a zombie. The sun was bright, but it didn't feel warm. The world felt different, sharper, like a bad dream. I tried to sleep, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw that smile. I heard that hum. It was stuck in my head. I kept checking my phone. The clock was fine now, but the memory of it being stuck, of those 7 lost minutes, made my stomach clench. I spent the whole day just sitting staring at walls. My apartment felt too small, too quiet. I kept thinking about the warehouse. Why did I see myself? What was that hum? And why did it only happen at 2:08 a.m.? My mind raced, trying to find answers. I thought about quitting, just walking away. But the thought of not knowing, of leaving it unfinished, felt worse than staying. And the money. I still needed the money. That was the real reason, I told myself. It wasn't fear, it was just needing to pay rent. But deep down, I knew it wasn't just the money. It was something else. A pull, a need to understand, a terrible, awful curiosity. The next night, I came prepared. I brought a small bag with me. Inside, I had a box of salt and a small Bible. Don't laugh. I know it sounds silly. My grandmother was from the old country. She told me stories about thin places, places where the world of the living and the world of the dead were close, where the wall between them was weak. She said salt could keep bad things away. It was a barrier. And the Bible was for protection, for good words to fight bad ones. She used to tell me these stories when I was a kid, sitting by the fire. I thought they were just old tales. Now, I wasn't so sure. It felt silly, holding that box of salt and that old book. But I was scared. I was really, truly scared. I needed something to make me feel brave. Something to push back against the cold, smiling face I'd seen. Something to hold on to. I got to work early. The building felt different in the daytime, less threatening. But I knew what the night would bring. As soon as my shift started, I felt the familiar dread creep in. The quiet of the warehouse felt heavy, pressing down on me. I kept looking at the cameras, checking every corner. Every shadow seemed to move. My heart was already beating fast. I tried to act normal. I walked my rounds, checked the doors, but every step felt like I was walking into a trap. At 1:30 a.m., I walked down the long hallway to Unit 3. My flashlight cut through the gloom. Every shadow looked like something waiting. My heart was thumping against my ribs. Each step echoed loudly in the silence. The air grew colder with every foot I took. I could feel the hairs on my arms stand up. My breath hitched in my throat. I just wanted to get this over with. I opened the box of salt. My hands were shaking a little. I poured a line of it across the bottom of the door. It was a thin white line against the dark concrete, a small, hopeful barrier. I hoped it was enough. I hoped it would work. Then I took out the Bible. It was old, with a worn leather cover. The pages were thin and yellowed, soft from age. I taped it right in the middle of the door. The tape crackled as I pressed it down. It was a desperate thing to do, but it made me feel a little bit better, like I had done something, like I was fighting back, even if it was with salt and an old book. I stood there for a moment, just staring at the door. The Bible looked small and fragile against the big metal door. I went back to the office. I sat and watched the clock. My heart hammered in my chest. 2:07 a.m. I held my breath. My eyes were glued to the numbers, waiting for them to change, waiting for something to happen. I gripped the edge of the desk, my knuckles white. My whole body was tense, ready to jump, ready to run. Then, at exactly 2:08 a.m., it started again. The humming. But this time, it changed. The humming turned into singing. It was a child's voice, a soft, sweet voice. But it was wrong. So wrong. It was singing, "Ring around the rosy, a pocket full of posies." My blood ran cold. My whole body froze. The words were clear, too clear. Each syllable seemed to hang in the air, chilling me to the bone. It was a little girl's voice, innocent but twisted. I wanted to leave. I really wanted to run out of that building and never look back. I should have. Every fiber of my being screamed at me to run, to pack my bag, get in my car, and drive as fast as I could. But something pulled me. It was like a string, tugging at my chest, a cold, invisible string. It drew me back down that long, dark corridor. My feet moved on their own, one step after another. I couldn't stop them. I walked slowly. Each step felt heavy, like my shoes were filled with lead. The child's voice grew louder with every step. Ashes, ashes, we all fall down. The words were playful, but the voice was hollow, empty. It felt like it was singing just to me. Halfway to Unit 3, the overhead lights flickered. Then they went out completely. The hallway was plunged into darkness. The singing stopped. The silence was sudden and deep. It was so quiet, it hurt my ears. My own breathing sounded loud. I couldn't even hear the hum of the freezers anymore. It was like the whole world had gone silent, just for me, just for this moment. Then, a slow knock echoed from behind the freezer door. Few knocks. It was loud in the silence. It sounded like someone was knocking from the inside. Trapped. A small, desperate knock, but it echoed like thunder. I wanted to turn and run. My legs felt like jelly. My hands were clammy. I could feel sweat trickling down my back. I tried to turn around, to run back to the office, to safety, but the hallway stretched out in front of me. I mean that, literally. The corridor grew longer with every step I took. It was like I was running in place. Unit 3, which was just a few feet away, suddenly seemed miles down the hall. The exit, the office, everything got farther away. The walls seemed to stretch too, endless and dark. The air was freezing. I could feel it bite at my skin. It was like the cold was alive, wrapping around me, trying to pull me in. I was breathing hard. My breath fogged in front of me. I was trapped in a hallway that just kept getting longer. It smelled strange, like old blood and fresh snow. A metallic tang mixed with the clean, sharp scent of ice. It made my stomach churn. I felt like I was going to throw up. And then I heard it. Whispers. They came from behind me. Soft, like dry leaves rustling, right in my ear. They were too quiet to make out words, but they were there. A low, sibilant sound, like secrets being told in the dark all around me. Then footsteps, bare feet slapping on cold concrete. They were getting closer. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would burst. My vision blurred. I could feel tears stinging my eyes. I spun around, fast. My flashlight beam cut through the blackness, shaking in my hand. It danced wildly. No one, just the long, dark hallway. Empty. The light danced over the bare walls, showing nothing but shadows. But the footsteps kept coming. They were right behind me now. I could feel the air stir, cold and dead. I squeezed my eyes shut, then opened them again. And then I saw it. My logbook. It was lying right in the middle of the floor, maybe 10 feet behind me. It hadn't been there a second ago. It was open, and on it, in handwriting that wasn't mine, were words, scratched in a messy, childish way. You broke the chain. The letters were crooked, like a child learning to write, but they were clear. And the salt line I'd poured, it was gone, just a faint smear on the concrete. The Bible was gone too. My mind screamed. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. My throat was tight with fear. I felt a cold touch on my ankle. It was like an icy hand gripping me. I tried to pull away, but I couldn't move. The whispers grew louder, like 100 tiny voices all around me. They were laughing, a cold, dry laugh. I felt myself being pulled, dragged backwards slowly, across the cold concrete, towards the dark where the footsteps came from. My flashlight fell from my hand, rolling away into the darkness. I was in complete blackness now. The cold was everywhere. It seeped into my bones. I could feel icy fingers on my skin pulling me harder. I closed my eyes, squeezing them shut. I didn't want to see. I didn't want to know. I don't know how I got there. The next thing I knew, I woke up in the break room. My whole body ached. My uniform was soaked with sweat, clinging to my skin. My head throbbed. It felt like someone had hit me with a hammer. It was 6:37 a.m. Sunlight was peeking through the blinds on the window. Everything looked normal. The coffee maker was humming softly. The chairs were in their places. The small table was clean. But I knew it wasn't normal. My body felt heavy, like I had run a marathon. Every muscle screamed. I slowly pushed myself up. My legs felt stiff and sore. I looked at the logbook. It was still there, on the table next to me. Open. The words were still there. You broke the chain. Clear as day, written in that strange, childish hand. A cold knot tightened in my stomach, and the door to Unit 3. It was wide open. I could see the dark opening from the break room door. A black rectangle in the dim light of the hallway. It looked like a hungry mouth, waiting. I went straight to HR that morning. My relief looked at me again, his eyes full of worry. Are you sure you're okay, man? He asked. I just shook my head. I couldn't even speak. I told the HR lady I needed a new job, a different shift, anywhere but Tinzantane. She was a kind lady with a soft voice. She looked at me funny. Her brow furrowed, like she was confused. She said Tinzantane didn't have a Unit 3. She looked at her computer screen, tapping on the keyboard. We have Unit A, Unit B, and Unit C, she said. No numbers, just letters. I told her I walked in there. I stood in there. I saw it. I tried to explain the hum, the clock, the face on the screen. I tried to tell her about the hallway stretching, the cold, the whispers. My voice shook as I spoke. She just blinked at me. Her eyes were full of pity. Mr. Peterson, she said softly, there's no Unit 3 on our records. She said I must have been confused. Maybe I was tired. She said there was no Unit 3 on the blueprints. I asked to see the blueprints. She printed them out for me. My hands trembled as I took the paper. I looked at the map of the warehouse. There was Unit A, B, and C, clearly marked, but no Unit 3. It was like it never existed, just an empty space where it should have been. But I knew it did. I walked those halls every night. I opened that door. I stood in that cold room. I saw the shelves, felt the cold, heard the hum. It was real. It had to be. I asked my daytime coworker, the lady who took over after me. Hey, I said, trying to sound casual. Have you ever heard of a Unit 3? She stared blankly at me. Her smile faded. "There's Unit A, B, and C," she said. "No numbers. Are you feeling okay?" Her eyes looked at me like I was crazy, like I had lost my mind. I just nodded. I didn't say anything else. I knew then that no one would believe me, that I was alone with what I had seen. The world felt like it was playing a trick on me, like everyone else was in on some big joke. That was 3 weeks ago. I left Vermont. I packed my bags and drove until I was far away. I didn't even look back. I just kept driving, hour after hour, until the green hills were behind me. I drove through states I didn't know, just trying to put as much distance as I could between me and that place. I ended up in a small town, 1,000 miles away. Got a new apartment, a new job. Day shift this time. I don't take night shifts anymore. I don't even sleep through the night. I wake up a lot. Sometimes, at exactly 2:08 a.m., I wake up in a cold sweat. My heart racing. My room feels freezing, even when it's warm outside. My breath fogs in front of me, like I'm in a freezer, and I hear humming. It's soft, like a little lullaby, but it's not sweet. It's chilling. It's the same tune, the one I can almost remember but never quite grasp. It plays in my head. Sometimes the humming sounds like it's coming from outside my door, like someone is standing right there. I hold my breath, listening. My ears strain in the dark. But when I get up to check, there's nothing. Just the silence. But it's not a comforting silence. It's a waiting silence. A silence that feels full of eyes. Sometimes I hear it in my phone, even when my phone is turned off. It's just a faint, impossible hum, like a ghost in the wires. I've thrown away 3 phones already. It doesn't help, it just moves to the next one. I try to tell myself it's just my mind playing tricks, that I'm still scared from that place, that it's just a bad dream, a memory that won't fade. I try to be strong. I try to forget. I keep all the lights on at night now. I don't like the dark anymore. It feels like it's hiding things. I check the locks on my doors and windows a dozen times before bed. I feel like I'm always being watched. I see shadows in my peripheral vision, just a flicker, then gone, like something moving too fast to catch. I jump at every noise, a car passing by, the wind in the trees. My nerves are always on edge. I haven't had a full night's sleep since I left Tincentain. Every dream is about that hallway, about the cold, the whispers, the feeling of being dragged, and that smile. Always that smile. I tried talking to a doctor. He said it was stress, maybe some kind of trauma. He gave me pills. The pills just made me sleepy. The humming was still there, just a little softer. The cold was still there. I know it followed me. I know it's still here. It's closer now than it ever was in Vermont. I can feel it in the air, a constant chill. I can hear it in the silence, a low, steady hum. But then, last night, I found something. It was taped to my bedroom window. I saw it when the first light of dawn came through. A small white piece of paper. It wasn't there when I went to bed. I know it wasn't. I always check the windows. A child's drawing, done with crayons, stick figures. 4 of them. They were holding hands in a circle, like they were playing Ring Around the Rosie. 3 of the stick figures had X's for eyes, like they were dead. Their faces were blank, just empty circles, and one of them was drawn in red crayon. It was bigger than the others. It had a big, wide smile. It was the same smile I saw on the camera, the same smile my doppelganger had. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was cold. It made my skin crawl. It was a smile that promised forever. I ripped it off the window. My hands were shaking so hard I almost tore the paper. I crumpled it up, threw it in the trash. But I knew it wouldn't make a difference. I know it followed me. I know it's still here. And I know I broke the chain. And now I'm part of it. I'm the 4th one, the one in red. The humming started to change again. It wasn't just that soft lullaby anymore. Now sometimes I heard words in it. Not clear words, just whispers. Like someone trying to tell me something, but their voice was too far away. It was always about the chain. The chain. You broke it. The chain. It would repeat over and over. I'd cover my ears, but it didn't help. It was inside my head now. A constant, low buzz of fear. I tried to tell myself it was just my mind. My doctor said my brain was trying to make sense of something scary. He said I needed to rest. But how could I rest when the humming never stopped, when the cold never left? The cold was the worst. It was a deep, bone-aching cold. Not like winter cold, but like something dead. It followed me everywhere. My apartment was always freezing, even with the heat turned up high. My neighbors complained about my heating bill. I just told them I liked it cold. They looked at me funny. I started wearing layers, even indoors. Sweaters, thick socks. But the cold was inside me too. It felt like my blood was turning to ice. My fingers and toes were always numb. Then the shadows started to play tricks on me, just at the edge of my sight. A flicker in the hallway, a dark shape in the corner of my eye. When I turned, it was gone. Just the normal shadows. But I knew. I knew something was there. Watching. I started to talk to myself, just little whispers at first. It's not real. It's not real. Then I started arguing with it. Leave me alone, I'd yell into the empty room. My new neighbors must have thought I was crazy. I heard them whispering in the hall. I stopped going out much. I didn't want to see people. I didn't want them to see me. I felt like I had a secret, a terrible, cold secret that was eating me alive. The dreams got worse. They weren't just about the hallway anymore. Now I was in Unit 3. It was dark, and the shelves were full of faces, child faces, all of them pale with X's for eyes. They were humming that same tune, and they were reaching for me, their little hands like ice. I would wake up screaming, my throat raw, my sheets soaked with sweat, my heart pounding. One night I woke up and the humming was so loud it felt like my head would split. It was coming from my closet. I could hear it clearly, like a tiny choir of children. Ring around the rosy, a pocket full of posies. It was right there. I froze. I couldn't move. I just stared at the closet door, my eyes wide in the dark. Then I saw it. A thin line of red, under the crack of the closet door. It was like a red light, glowing softly. It pulsed with the rhythm of the humming. My breath caught in my throat. I wanted to run, but my body wouldn't listen. The red line grew brighter. Then, a tiny crack appeared in the wood of the door. It was like someone was pushing from the inside, pushing hard. The wood groaned. The humming got louder, turning into a high-pitched whine. It hurt my ears. Then, a small, pale hand with thin, bony fingers pushed through the crack. It was reaching for me. I could see the X on the back of its hand. I screamed, a real scream this time, and I scrambled out of bed, falling to the floor. I crawled backward, away from the closet, until my back hit the wall. I just stared. The hand pulled back. The red light faded. The humming stopped. Silence. Just my ragged breathing, loud in the dark room. I stayed there, shaking, until the sun came up. I didn't open that closet door for days. I just left it shut, taped it shut with duct tape. I put a heavy dresser in front of it, anything to keep it closed, anything to keep it out. But I knew it was still there. I could feel its cold presence, even through the wood. The humming would start sometimes, very faint, from behind the dresser. Just a reminder. I stopped sleeping in my bedroom. I slept on the couch in the living room with all the lights on. I bought a little night light, a cheap one shaped like a star. It gave off a weak yellow glow. I kept it plugged in, right next to me, like a tiny shield against the dark. I tried to find out more about Tincentain. I looked it up online on old newspaper sites. Nothing, just the regular business stuff. No stories about Unit 3, no accidents. It was like it was erased, like I was the only one who remembered it. I even called the local library in Vermont. I asked about old records, old buildings. The librarian was nice, but she didn't know anything about a Unit 3, just A, B, and C. She said the building was old, but nothing special, just a cold storage place. I felt like I was losing my mind. Was it all a dream, a nightmare that wouldn't end? But the cold was real. The humming was real. The drawing was real. I knew it. One day, I was walking home from my day job. The sun was bright, the sky was blue. I felt almost normal. Almost. I was humming a little tune to myself. Then I stopped. My blood ran cold. It was the tune. The same one. I was humming without even thinking about it. It had gotten inside me. It was part of me now, like a sickness. I ran home. I locked the door. I sat on my couch, shaking. I looked at my hands. Were they getting paler? Were my eyes getting darker? I went to the mirror. I stared at my reflection. My face looked tired, thin, but then, just for a second, I thought I saw it. A flicker, a wide, slow smile, stretching my mouth too far. Just like on the camera, I jumped back, hitting the wall. The mirror stared back at me, normal again, just my scared face. But I knew what I saw. It was there, inside me, the drawing on my window. I found another one this morning. It was taped to the inside of my front door, right where I would see it, the same drawing. 4 stick figures holding hands, 3 with X's for eyes, and 1 in red crayon with that wide, cold smile. But this time, the red stick figure was holding a tiny, faint line. It looked like a string that led off the paper, into my apartment. I know it followed me. I know it's still here. It's not outside anymore. It's inside my home, inside me. And I know I broke the chain, and now I'm part of it. I'm the 4th one, the one in red. The humming is constant now. It's like my own heartbeat. I can't escape it. It's always there, a low, soft drone under everything. When I talk, it hums. When I eat, it hums. I can feel the cold all the time. It's like I'm living in Unit 3, no matter where I go. My skin feels tight and dry. My lips are always chapped. My hair feels brittle. I look in the mirror and I see the changes. My eyes are sunken, dark circles under them. My skin is pale, almost gray. My smile, when I try to make one, feels stiff. Sometimes, when I'm alone, I catch myself humming the tune, out loud. My own voice, but it sounds hollow. It sounds like the child's voice from the warehouse. It's terrifying. I tried to leave again. I packed a small bag, just a few clothes, my wallet. I got in my car. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely turn the key. I started the engine. The humming started too, loud in the car. It wasn't coming from the radio. It was coming from the back seat. I looked in the rearview mirror. Nothing. Just the dark back seat. But the humming was there. And the cold. It filled the car. I felt a chill on my neck, like someone was breathing on me. I gripped the steering wheel. My knuckles were white. I couldn't drive. I couldn't go anywhere. It was with me, wherever I went. I got out of the car. I went back inside my apartment. I locked the door. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. It had me. The whispers are clearer now, too. They come from the walls, from the air. They call my name. It's a soft, drawn-out sound. Sometimes they tell me things I don't want to hear. Come play with us. Join the circle. You broke the chain. They sound like children, many children, all whispering at once. I sit in the living room now, all day and all night. I don't move much. I just stare at the wall. The nightlight is always on. It's my only friend. I don't eat much. I don't sleep. My body feels tired, but my mind is wide awake. Always listening, always waiting for the next thing. Last night I saw them, not just shadows, not just glimpses. They were in my living room, 4 of them, small, shadowy figures. They looked like children, very thin. Their clothes were old and ragged. Their faces were dark, but I could see the X's where their eyes should be, and one of them, the one in front, was glowing faintly red. It had a wide, wide smile. The same smile. It was the one from the camera. They were holding hands, in a circle, just like the drawing. They started to sway, slowly, and they hummed the tune. Their voices were soft. Then they started to move, around and around, a slow, silent dance. Their bare feet made no sound on my floor, just the hum. They danced closer to me slowly, step by step. The red one, the one with the smile, was always facing me. Its smile grew wider as it came closer. It was a terrible smile. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. I was frozen, just watching them. They were almost on top of me now. I could feel the cold coming off them. It was like the cold of Unit 3, but stronger. It burned. The red one stopped right in front of me, its head tilted. It reached out a hand, a small, pale hand, with an X on the back. It beckoned me. A slow, silent gesture. Join us. I closed my eyes. I didn't want to see. I didn't want to feel. I felt its icy fingers touch my face. So cold. So cold. It felt like a burn. A deep, freezing burn. I wanted to cry out, but I couldn't. I just lay there, helpless. Then I felt a pressure on my chest, like something heavy. I opened my eyes. The red one was gone. They were all gone. The room was empty. Just the nightlight, glowing weakly. But the cold was still there, and the humming, louder now, and on my chest, where the red one had touched me. There was a drawing, scratched into my skin, a stick figure, just one, drawn in red. It had a big, wide smile, and an X for an eye. It was me, the fourth one, the one in red. I know it's over now. The chain is complete. I don't feel scared anymore, just cold, so cold. The humming is all I hear. It's my song now. Sometimes I hum along. My voice is soft, like a child's. I look at my hands. They're pale now, almost gray. I feel a smile stretch across my face, a wide, slow smile. It doesn't feel like my smile. It feels like someone else's. I think about the warehouse, about Unit 3. It's not empty. It's full of us, all of us. We're waiting for the next one. Someone to break the chain, someone to join our circle. And I know, when they do, I'll be there, humming and smiling.